Chapter 391, Chapter 391, Arrived in Time, 1. Chapter 391, Arrived in Time, 1. The Kanglan building is just a so-so. You are actually destroyed by a martial honors disciple. Is this all you have to come to the Queen's palace to vent your anger? Do you think you can take the dragon's soul jade away just because you want to? What kind of place do you think the Queen's palace is? Shun Tingfeng laughed out loud. As the Grand Elder of the Queen's palace, he naturally knew everything about Li Lingtian. Now, this old man Tian Yin actually gave up on the House of Storms and came to this place to ask for the dragon's soul jade. It seemed that Li Lingtian was extraordinarily powerful. Even a sixth heaven martial monarch realm expert was defeated. You're courting death. Old man Tian Yin was enraged. Instantly, a shocking attack was launched towards the two Grand Elders in the fifth heaven. The peak completion of the sixth heaven was more than enough to deal with the fifth heaven. Do it! Shun Tingfeng shouted at the other martial monarch realm experts. If they fought here, the ancient teleportation array would definitely be destroyed. The value of the ancient teleportation array was not inferior to the dragon's soul jade at all. Rumble! Rumble! Immediately, a shocking explosion sounded. The two fifth heaven Grand Elders and the other 20 martial monarch realm experts joined forces to attack Tian Yin and Reika Old Man. In an instant, the depths of the Queen's palace continued to collapse. Ah! Ah! With two screams, the two second-level martial Emperor realm experts were killed and vanished into thin air. The battle was extremely intense. Her Majesty Shun Yu, the elders, and the Supreme Elder were all injured, and their faces were pale. There were only 10 martial Emperor powerhouses left now. However, the experts in Kanglan Tower were the ones who were seriously injured, and 10 martial monarch realm experts from Lingyun City and Kanglan Tower had died. Do you want Li Lingtian to save you? Old man Tian Yin's face was filled with madness. The House of Storms was destroyed, but only a few low-level disciples and 10 martial sovereigns were destroyed. However, the Queen's palace was going to be destroyed immediately. With his strength, killing these experts in front of him was simply a piece of cake. Rumble! At this moment, Shun Tingfeng and the other Supreme Elder exchanged a glance. They clapped their hands and a destructive light beam burst out from the ground. The spiritual energy of the Earth's core spiritual vein bombarded Old Man Tian Yin with destructive power. If this continued, the entire Queen's palace would be destroyed. Naturally, Li Lingtian could not come here. Elder Tian Yin and the others had crossed over to the Azure Billow building because of Li Lingtian's battle. Even if Li Lingtian were to rush back, it would take a few months. By then, the Queen's palace, Spirituality City, would have been in ruins. The Earth core vein has gone crazy. Seeing that the shocking pillar of light was filled with spiritual energy, Old Man Tian Yin was also extremely shocked. He grabbed at the air with one hand and a suction force appeared. Old Man Reika, who was beside him, could not help but float over and block the destructive pillar of light in the air. Rumble! With a loud explosion, Reika Old Man disappeared without a single scream. When he was caught by Tian Yin Old Man, he had already felt fear. He had never thought that he would be used as a shield. In the distance, countless low-level martial artists from the Spirit Rhyme City and the Queen's Palace were shocked when they saw this. They also felt the shamelessness of the Old Man Tian Yin. The Queen and the few Supreme Martial Monarch Realm experts also felt Tian Yin's despicableness. He actually used his own sect member to block the attack. It was simply shameful. The vein of the Earth's core can only be attacked once. Die. After I kill you all, I will personally take the dragon's soul jade. Old Man Tian Yin didn't feel uncomfortable at all. He shouted loudly and used all his vital essence. A destructive light curtain bombarded the Supreme Elder guarding the array altar on the ground. The sound of blood spurting rang out. At the same time, Shun Yu and the others also launched their attacks at Old Man Tian Yin. However, the Supreme Elder was injured, and Old Man Tian Yin was smashed down by 8 attacks. His body only trembled slightly, but he was not injured at all. A level 6 expert was nothing more than a tickle when faced with an attack from an expert below level 5. Rumble. Rumble. The light bombarded, and a shocking power tore through space. When Old Man Tian saw that he had killed most of the experts in the entire Spirit Rhyme City and the Queen's Palace, a crazed smile appeared on his face. As long as he eliminated these experts, he could take the Dragon Soul Jade and leave. Once he obtained the Dragon's Soul and became a Tier 8 demonic cultivator, it would not be a problem for him to eliminate Li Lingtian. However, at this moment, a shocking explosion sounded thousands of miles away from Spirituality City. A red grid appeared in space. Everyone's attention shifted to Tianhao Mountain. The red grid in the air became clearer and clearer. Ha! Someone is crossing over. Could it be that he crossed over? Just who crossed over? Could it be an expert from the House of Storms? All of a sudden, all the experts in Spirit Rhyme City were shocked. Shen Yu and the others were shocked. If the experts of the House of Storms really came, it would speed up the destruction of the Queen's Palace. Old Man Tian was the only one who was puzzled. He did not know who could use this world-crossing formation. In any case, it was not the experts of the House of Storms. Because the experts of the House of Storms could not use the Cross-Realm Array, all the Martial Monarch Realm experts of the House of Storms went to the Lost Forest. The battle stopped and everyone looked at the red grid in the distance. The grid was originally only 10 meters wide, but it quickly spread out and finally formed a red grid that was 100 miles wide. Space began to crack, but no one appeared. Swoosh! Boom! With a loud explosion, a hole appeared in the grid in the air. The hole disappeared in a flash, and a young man appeared in the air. The young man's white clothes fluttered in the wind. His face was pale, but it did not affect his temperament and elegance. The young man who appeared in the grid was instantly recognized by countless experts. Young noble Ling Tian. Li Lingtian. Why is he here? Isn't he in the Kanglan building? It's Li Lingtian. Suddenly, countless experts exclaimed. Everyone knew the crisis of Spirituality City. Spirituality City was about to disappear and no one could stop it. However, she did not expect Li Lingtian to appear in this place. It looked like he had specially crossed over to this world. Otherwise, the war god wouldn't have appeared here. Tianyin, you didn't expect him to be a holy array master, did you? Shun Tingfeng laughed out loud. They had been stalling for time because they were hoping that Li Lingtian would arrive. She did not expect Li Lingtian to come. Her Royal Highness Shun Yu revealed a rare smile. Damn it, little bastard, you're everywhere. Elder Tianyin was furious. He did not expect Li Lingtian to cross over at this time. This was beyond his expectations. Looking at the Dragon's Soul Jade that was about to be in his hands, Old Man Tianyin was really unwilling. He did not want to provoke the power of an 8th-rank demonic beast, but he did not know what to do for a moment. You want to leave? Is it that simple? Li Lingtian felt dizzy in the space-time tunnel. After a full minute, he finally left the space-time tunnel. However, all the true essence in his body had been depleted. In the space-time tunnel, the friction of destruction almost killed him even though he was a first-level Supreme Realm expert with the limitless feather coat and the true dragon's protection. Fortunately, he came out safely and successfully arrived at the boundless Heaven Mountain outside of Spirituality City. He did not have any true essence in his body, but after throwing a pill into his mouth, his true essence instantly recovered to its peak. His body flashed and he arrived at Spirituality City. Looking at the state of Spirituality City, it was almost completely destroyed. Fortunately, the queen had not been killed, and a few powerful figures had not died. This way, he was much more relieved. However, when he saw Old Man Tianyin's cultivation, he smiled bitterly in his heart. A 6th Heaven Martial Monarch Realm expert killing him, a 1st Heaven Supreme Realm expert, was as easy as crushing an ant. But what he did not expect was that this Old Man Tianyin actually wanted to escape. Swoosh! Li Lingtian, just you wait. I hope you don't leave the Queen's palace. Otherwise, the Queen's palace will still be destroyed. One day, you will be destroyed by me. A cool breeze blew past, and the old man Tian in the space strangely disappeared without a trace of his aura. However, an ethereal voice rang out and spread throughout Spirit Rhyme City. All the martial artists heard it clearly. When they heard this voice, they all revealed disdainful gazes. At this moment, a sixth heaven martial emperor had actually fled without fighting in front of a first heaven martial honored realm expert. He still had the cheek to say such big words. Spatial imprisonment. Myriad swords returned to the origin. There was a smile on Li Lingtian's face. Since he wanted to escape, he had lost his will to fight. Even if he was not a match for a martial emperor powerhouse, he could still fight. With a wave of the spatial banner, the space distorted. Old man Tian, who had disappeared, appeared in the air 10 miles away. However, at this moment, his body shook. He did not expect Li Lingtian to break his spatial teleportation. He was caught off guard and ended up in a sorry state. Just as old man Tian appeared, Li Lingtian's entire body burst forth with sword intent. The entire space was filled with destructive sword intent. The heavenly fault sword appeared in front of him. The heavenly fault sword spun rapidly, and the destructive sword intent wreaked havoc in the space. A ball of light appeared in Li Lingtian's hand. With a pat, the ball of light disappeared. Instantly, a 5-kilometer-wide sword formation appeared. With Li Lingtian at the center, it was a world of swords. Over 10,000 sharp swords, each of which was a profound level weapon. There were also Heaven, Emperor, and Saint weapons. The might of the Saint artifact continued to tear through the air, and the shocking sword intent swept across the world. The entire process seemed to take a long time, but it only took a split second. Li Lingtian's body flashed as he pointed with one hand. The sword array struck Elder Tian with destructive force. Tens of thousands of sharp swords tore through space. Each sword was connected to each other, forming a destructive sword array. Heaven and earth returned to the origin, the power of Brahma. Looking at the destructive sword intent in the sky, as well as the tens of thousands of sharp swords and the Emperor artifacts, old man Tian's heart trembled. In the current situation, even if he escaped, he would be killed by the sword formation. He could only resist with all his might. As long as he withstood this attack, a martial emperor powerhouse's reaction speed would allow him to escape in an instant. No matter how powerful Li Lingtian's Tier 8 mystical beast was, it would only be left in the dust. Chapter 392, Chapter 392, Fleeing in a Flea. Chapter 392, Fleeing in a Flea. Ah! The few powerful martial emperors of Spirit Rhyme City were shocked when they saw old man Tian using the forbidden skill of a martial emperor. A 6th-level martial emperor powerhouse's cultivation base was already extremely terrifying. Now that he had used a forbidden skill, wasn't he trying to destroy Spirituality City? However, they understood that Li Lingtian's myriad returning swords had already destroyed them. In front of the myriad returning swords, the few martial emperor powerhouses did not know what kind of cultivation they had to withstand this move. Only the forbidden skill could withstand it. In the sky, tens of thousands of swords flew together, tearing apart space with destructive power. On the other side, a beam of light blasted toward Li Lingtian. Elder Tian thought to himself that he would leave as soon as he could hold off the myriad returning swords. He was a 6th heaven martial emperor, so it was easy for him to kill Li Lingtian. However, Li Lingtian had a Tier 8 demonic beast. If the Tier 8 demonic beast came out, it would definitely be killed by the demonic beast. As for the dragon's soul jade, he would come back to get it when the time came. How could a few martial monarch realm experts block his power? With this plan in mind, there was no fighting spirit in his heart at all. Rumble. The sword formation and the power of Brahma collided, causing the space to tremble and form a vacuum. Immediately after, the ground trembled and collapsed. Huge cracks appeared in space, and the world trembled in front of this rumbling sound. 10,000 sharp swords, countless heaven artifacts, emperor artifacts, and a few saint artifacts unleashed destructive sword silks that formed a sword net. The sword net directly shattered the power of Brahma into pieces and then devoured the attack of the power of Brahma. In an instant, hundreds of the 10,000 swords were destroyed. The swords that were destroyed were all profound-level weapons and imperial weapons. However, the destruction of these sharp swords brought death and destruction to the space. The fragments turned into sword intent and were swallowed by other sharp swords. In an instant, an even more violent sword intent appeared. In the entire spirituality city, tens of millions of warriors looked at the attack in the sky. This attack had already exceeded their imagination. They had already treated this attack as a battle between real gods. In front of the sword intent of destruction and death, all the experts felt the pressure. All the martial artists below the rank of martial emperor were suppressed by this sword intent and knelt on the ground in worship. The power of Brahma was completely negated. The 10,000 swords tore through space and arrived in front of Old Man Tianyin. At this moment, Elder Tianyin was completely stunned. He had always been afraid of Li Lingtian's demonic beast, but he did not expect Li Lingtian to be so terrifying. For a moment, he was stunned. 10,000 swords pierced through his body. He spat out a mouthful of blood, and his entire body was covered in sword light. He no longer looked like a martial monarch realm expert. Heaven and earth reincarnation. At this moment, a faint smile appeared on Old Man Tianyin's face before he disappeared. However, another Elder Tianyin appeared not too far away from Li Lingtian. When Elder Tianyin appeared, a destructive attack was directed at Li Lingtian. I see. Li Lingtian was stunned. Elder Tianyin whom he had killed was merely a clone. After reaching the martial supreme realm, there were people who could control a mysterious skill, which was the clone technique. Although only 1 in 10,000 martial monarch realm experts could control the avatar technique, such martial monarch realm experts still existed. This Old Man Tianyin was one of them. He had been fooled. He had already used the myriad returning swords. If he wanted to block Tianyin's attack, he would be a little powerless. All the powerhouses could see this and they were secretly worried for Li Lingtian. If you don't seek death, you won't die. However, the powerhouses were puzzled by Li Lingtian's words. They wondered who gave him the courage or what powerful ability he had. This way, he was completely playing along. Before they could be confused, the 10,000 sharp swords and the heavenly false sword floated in the air before Li Lingtian. However, Li Lingtian turned around and waved his hand. He was originally empty-handed, but when he swung his hand, a long saber appeared. The saber carried a destructive pressure. Desolate 10 consecutive strikes. Li Lingtian shouted softly as he swung the Empyrean Terminus Emperor saber in his hand. It was a light blow. There was no strength, but this strike carried supreme saber intent. The saber light also carried saber intent. The saber light and saber intent cut through the void and slashed towards Old Man Tianyin. Super Saint Weapon. Another Supreme Saint Weapon, you little bastard. Don't use a Supreme Saint Weapon if you dare. Elder Tianyin was thoroughly enraged when he saw the long saber in Li Lingtian's hand. Previously, when Li Lingtian used the myriad returning swords, he had also used a Supreme Saint Weapon. He did not expect that he would use another Supreme Saint Weapon now. Even Old Man Tianyin had never come across a Supreme Saint Weapon, let alone control one. It was already good enough to have a lower saint weapon forever. As for this young man before him, he had an endless stream of heaven-tier divine powers. He also took out one saint artifact after another, and he even used several at once. Wasn't this infuriating? Idiot! What AF *eking fool! How can you say such things? You're really a disgrace to martial artists. I might as well ask young noble Ling Tian not to retaliate and let him decide. You really don't know shame. You're already old, yet you're still so shameless. You're really a disgrace to Kanglan building. Hearing Old Man Tianyin's words, all the warriors started cursing. They were initially afraid of Elder Tianyin, but now that Li Lingtian was here, no one was afraid of Elder Tian Yin anymore. After all, Li Lingtian was powerful and he had a Tier 8 mystical beast. Since even Elder Tian Yin had to flee, they were naturally not afraid of him now. What? Desolate 10 consecutive strikes. It's the desolate 10 consecutive slashes that can surpass heaven-grade divine powers. You probably don't know about this. Young noble Ling Tian's ultimate moves are myriad returning swords and desolate 10 consecutive strikes, as well as God's fury descending from the heavens and 9 heavens of ice/fire. I think there's also some God's extreme destruction and great cloud palm. I see. The warriors below began to discuss Li Lingtian's desolation 10 consecutive strikes. At this moment, the two attacks in the sky had already collided. With the desolate 10 consecutive strikes, the first 3 saber rays and saber intent were destroyed, but the fourth one stabilized. The next few saber flares broke through Old Man Tian Yin's sneak attack and slashed at him in the air. Not good. Elder Tian Yin was shocked when he saw his sneak attack being stopped. The famous desolate 10 consecutive strikes was Li Lingtian's trump card. His body twisted forcefully, wanting to escape and dodge. Tisk. With a soft sound, the desolation 10 consecutive strikes missed, and Old Man Tian Yin managed to dodge it. However, when Old Man Tian Yin tried to dodge, his speed was a little slower because he was forcefully dodging. He managed to keep his life, but one of his arms was chopped off. 10,000 shadows. Old Man Tian Yin's face was pale. He had been injured by this young man's schemes several times. With his remaining hand, he used a jade talisman. Instantly, tens of thousands of Old Man Tian Yin appeared in the air. Countless Old Man Tian Yin quickly flew in all directions. Eye of the Divine Soul, activate. Li Lingtian was stunned to see so many Old Man Tian Yin. If it were any other powerhouse, they would have let Old Man Tian Yin escape. However, Old Man Tian Yin had encountered Li Lingtian. The few martial emperors below were stunned as they watched Li Lingtian's battle in the sky. They were all fearful of Li Lingtian's strength. They had the same thought in the past. They thought that Li Lingtian had no other abilities other than the war god and the gorilla demon. However, they never expected this young man to be so terrifying.
A first-level martial honored realm was actually fighting with a 6th-level martial emperor realm expert. Not only was he not defeated, he even injured the Old Man Tian Yin several times. However, they felt regretful when they saw Old Man Tian Yin escape with 10,000 shadows. Just when all the warriors thought that Li Lingtian was about to give up, they saw a 3-petaled exquisite red lotus flower appear between Li Lingtian's brows. It looked extremely demonic. A ray of light emerged from his glabella. The red light swept across the surroundings and Li Lingtian was already prepared. Let's see how many arms you still have left. Desolate 10 consecutive strikes. Li Lingtian raised his hand and swung his saber. A saber radiance that was accompanied by saber intent slashed toward the space. The space was silent. The saber light disappeared, and so did the saber intent. Ah, Li Lingtian, I won't let you off even if I become a ghost. At this moment, a scream appeared in the sky. It was Old Man Tian Yin's scream. Li Lingtian shook his head. He had forcefully executed 2 consecutive desolation 10 consecutive strikes, but he was still unable to stop this martial emperor. A 6th heaven martial emperor was indeed peerless. Executing desolate 10 consecutive strikes was his limit. However, he had made enemies at the 6th heaven of the martial emperor realm. It was good to kill one after another, but he did not expect the other party to escape. Seeing that Elder Tian Yin had escaped, Li Lingtian descended and hovered above the city wall. His eyes were watching everything that was happening in the Queen's palace. Currently, half of the Queen's palace had been destroyed, and there were only 6 martial emperor powerhouses left. The rest of the martial emperors had gone to God knows where. Come out. The matter has already been resolved. Li Lingtian scanned his surroundings with a sharp gaze. With a flick of his divine consciousness, he activated the divine dragon ring and Shun Mei appeared in the air. However, when he saw everything in front of him, his expression changed drastically. However, when he realized that the queen and a few elders were still there, his expression became slightly better. Soon after, Shun Mei landed and greeted the queen. This time, Shun Yu didn't make things difficult for Shun Mei. The noble aura on his face was still there, but there was a trace of emotion on his face. He looked at Shun Mei lovingly. Li Lingtian landed as well and greeted the elders. Upon seeing Li Lingtian's greeting, they quickly returned the greeting. They could not treat this revered martial artist youth as a revered martial artist, or they would not know how he died. They had all seen his strength just now. Even if he did not kill old man Tian Yin, he had beaten him up badly.
Chapter 393, Chapter 393, Second Level Supreme Realm. Chapter 393, Second Level Supreme Realm. Since old man Tian Yin was beaten so badly, they naturally did not need to say anything. Moreover, this young man was the little princess' husband. Although the little princess was not the heir, Li Lingtian's strength was too terrifying. Even if such a person could not be a friend, he should not be an enemy. Thank you, young noble Ling Tian. If it wasn't for young noble Ling Tian rushing back to save them, the Queen's Palace and Spirit Resonance City would have been finished. Shun Tingfeng and the others were extremely grateful when they heard Shun Mei recount the incident at the House of Storms. They also knew that Li Lingtian had risked his life to cast the transboundary formation to return to rescue them. Li Lingtian had already done his best by doing this. If it was someone else, they would not care about such a thing at all. Who would risk their lives and rush back to Spirituality City to help after spending a few hours casting the World Crossing Array? However, they understood that Li Lingtian was doing all this for Shun Mei. Although he knew that Li Lingtian had several peerless beauties by his side and they all seemed to be his women, no one could compare to him for doing this for Shun Mei. Li Lingtian was a famous man in the Gang continent. He had caused a ruckus in the Dishi family for Tang Qingyue and even wiped them out. For Shun Mei, he had killed the experts of the House of Storms last time. Now, he had returned to help the Queen Palace. None of the warriors wanted to know about Li Lingtian's personality. However, they kept one thing in mind. Li Lingtian's reverse scale was his woman. If they offended his woman, he could slaughter all living beings. Elder is too polite. Although Mei is no longer the successor of the Queen's Palace, Mei is still a member of the Queen's Palace. I can also be considered a member of the Queen's Palace. Since the Queen's Palace is in trouble, then it is Mei's business. I will naturally not sit idly by. Li Lingtian smiled faintly as he spoke calmly. His tone was neither humble nor arrogant. Instantly, countless powerhouses felt that Li Lingtian was not a simple character. He was approachable. If they were not enemies, they were friends. If they were enemies, they would be eliminated. If they were friends, they would be treated with ease. Shun Tingfeng and the others were thrilled by his words. Although the Queen's Palace had been destroyed, Li Lingtian's words would allow them to rise again. With Li Lingtian around, no one in the Azure continent would dare to provoke him. They would be courting death. Even the strongest powerhouse in the Azure continent, a sixth heaven martial emperor, wanted to flee when he saw Li Lingtian. Now, he had even escaped in a miserable state. Brother-in-law, you are the person I admire the most. At that moment, Shen Yaowu walked out with a look of admiration on his face as he greeted Li Lingtian. It was really easy to call him brother-in-law. Even though Shun Mei was with Li Lingtian, which was a well-known fact, she was still a little shy when her younger brother called Li Lingtian brother-in-law. Not bad, not bad. As long as you work hard, no one in the Azure continent will be able to stand above you. Li Lingtian glanced at Shen Yaowu and Shun Mei. He knew that this young man was Shun Mei's closest brother. He was also very satisfied with this young man's talent and cultivation. It was indeed rare for him to reach the Martial Emperor realm at the age of 17. Thank you for your praise, brother-in-law. For the first time, Shunya was scratched his head in embarrassment and chuckled. After that, Spirit Rhyme City was reorganized. All the destroyed cities were repaired and all the expenses were paid by the Queen's Palace. Moreover, the Queen's Palace had also gathered foreign martial artists and ordinary people to repair the Queen's Palace. Half of the Queen's Palace had been destroyed, but most of the palaces and pavilions were still intact. Otherwise, the Queen's Palace would be rebuilt. Li Lingtian was arranged to stay in the Queen's Palace's Little Moon Palace, which was also Shan Mei's palace. There were reasons for Li Lingtian to stay in the Little Moon Palace. Firstly, Shun Mei was Li Lingtian's wife. Secondly, Li Lingtian could stay in Spirituality City and guard it. Even if the powerhouses from the House of Storms came again, they would only be seeking death. In this way, the powerhouses from the Queen's Palace and Spirituality City were aware of Li Lingtian's existence. With Li Lingtian around, they could cultivate in peace. It was rare for Li Lingtian to cultivate in peace as it would take some time before the war god arrived at Spirituality City. When he was in the Azure Waterhouse, he had already instructed Yi Feng to bring them to Lingyun City. During this period of time, he could cultivate and accompany Shun Mei. As long as Li Lingtian was not cultivating, Shun Mei would stick close to him. At night, they would make love to their heart's content. Her entire being had matured, like a ripe peach. On this day, Li Lingtian was cultivating when he suddenly felt his entire body's true essence surge and his realm loosening. Li Lingtian was excited when he realized this. He had reached the first level of the Supreme Realm for a long time. Moreover, he was at the perfected first level of the Supreme Realm. However, he had never had the chance to break through to the second level of the Supreme Realm. He didn't expect that he would loosen up his realm while cultivating here. Although it had something to do with cultivation, he understood that he had gained experience and benefits from the battle with Old Man Tianyin. The Ice Soul Martial Spirit circulated, and he calmed down. He threw a grade 6 cleansing pill into his mouth. He circulated the Heaven and Earth reincarnation technique, and his Jin Yuan circulated continuously. The 5-colored golden core in his body also spun. As he continued to devour the true essence, his golden core also rapidly strengthened. After an unknown period of time, the medicinal power of the dust cleansing pill in his body was refined into true essence. The true essence surged into his dantian and obtained a powerful true essence. The golden core emitted a trace of colorful light. The golden core spun 81 times and finally stabilized. Li Lingtian also opened his eyes with a faint smile on his face. Revered martial artist, second heaven breakthrough. As he muttered to himself, the confidence on his face became even stronger. Above the Supreme Realm, each level was a world. There was a huge difference between a first heaven Supreme Realm and a second heaven Supreme Realm. After reaching the second level of the Supreme Realm, not only did his true essence sublimate, but the amount of true essence also increased a lot. During a great battle, the endurance of Jin Yuan would also increase, and the treasures under his control would be able to display even greater power. If it had been difficult to perform myriad returning swords in the past, it would be much easier to perform myriad returning swords now. Such an increase in realm was an increase in strength, and he had improved in all aspects. After cultivating in his room for a day and stabilizing his state, Li Lingtian finally walked out. Congratulations, husband, for breaking through to the second level of the Supreme Realm. Your cultivation has improved greatly. Shun Mei walked up to Li Lingtian in a delicate manner and bowed to him. She looked extremely adorable. When the two were together, Shun Mei had many tricks up her sleeve. Li Lingtian enjoyed it and did not find Shun Mei's tricks boring at all. On the contrary, he felt a sense of excitement. Now that Shun Mei was bowing so politely, it was definitely a temptation given her status. I've finally broken through to the second level of the Supreme Realm. I haven't had the chance to cultivate quietly during this period of time. Now that I've stopped, I've broken through to the first level of the Perfection Realm. Li Lingtian pulled Shun Mei into his arms and kissed her rosy lips. Immediately, Shun Mei's body trembled. The two of them were together every day. Although they were familiar with each other, Shun Mei was more sensitive in this aspect. However, Li Lingtian did not go too far. After all, this was the queen's palace and he was a warrior. He could not let his lust affect his mind. Husband, 2 days ago, Her Majesty told Mei that if Mei were to inherit the position of the next queen, you don't have to change your surname or marry into the family. Shun Mei recalled what Shun Yu had told her 2 days ago. She then softly told Li Lingtian what she had said that day. Did you agree? Li Lingtian had a faint smile on his face as he looked at Shun Mei. No, because Mei is my husband's wife. I know that my husband likes freedom. Moreover, Mei doesn't like to be restrained and doesn't want to manage anything. She just wants to be with my husband. Shun Mei said in a sweet voice. When she smiled, her proud chest heaved up and down as she trembled. Li Lingtian's blood vessels were pumping as he watched her. Be good. Li Lingtian gently caressed Shun Mei's face. Naturally, he wouldn't stay in the queen's palace. He knew that Shun Mei wouldn't agree to it. He naturally did not care about a mere queen's palace. Moreover, he was not someone who cared about power. As long as one had a strong cultivation base, one would be a true expert. No one would not respect you. Following that, Li Lingtian peacefully refined his treasures, cultivated his skills, and comprehended his cultivation techniques and alchemy techniques. Shun Mei was also cultivating by the side. At night, the two of them practiced dual cultivation, so their cultivation continued to increase. However, Li Lingtian had yet to figure out how to use or refine the Cosmos Jade. However, he didn't care. There was still a long time. After waiting for 2 whole months, the war god finally arrived at Spirituality City. This was also the result of the war god flying at full speed. Although the war god was very fast, the distance between Spirituality City and the Azure Waterhouse's Effulgent City was too far. It was time for Li Lingtian to leave after arriving at Spirituality City. Because he had to return to the Green Prefecture now, the matters of the Azure continent had basically been resolved. Although he didn't know where the experts of the House of Storms had gone, he didn't want to look for them now. He had been away from Green Island for too long. He had to go back in case something happened to Green Island. However, the plan was not as fast as the changes. On this day, Li Lingtian was cultivating when a maid sent him a message asking him and Shun Mei to go to the Queen's Palace. The Queen's Palace had almost recovered in 2 months. The basic areas had been restored. Li Lingtian was curious as well. He did not know why the Queen's Palace was looking for them. Could it be that they were still determined to keep him in the Queen's Palace? Do you know what it is? Li Lingtian asked Shun Mei as he walked. In fact, he knew that Shun Mei didn't know. If she knew something, she would have told him immediately. I don't know. Shun Mei held Li Lingtian's arm as the two of them walked toward the Queen's Palace. Although he did not know what was going on, Li Lingtian had already decided to leave the Queen's Palace today. Chapter 394, Chapter 394, Dragon Soul Jade. Chapter 394, Dragon Soul Jade. Soon, the two of them arrived at the Queen's Palace. When they arrived, there were already more than a dozen martial artists here. Just like before, Queen Shun Yu was sitting on the throne with no smile on her face. She was like a fairy who didn't belong to the mortal world. She did not exude any powerful aura, but sitting there, coupled with her innate queen temperament, was enough to make all the experts below feel pressured. Greetings, Your Majesty. Greetings, Your Majesty. Li Lingtian came to the center of the hall and saluted Shun Yu with cupped fists. According to the hierarchy of the continent, he was indeed a junior. However, in terms of strength, Li Lingtian did not need to bow. However, he had to give face to Shun Mei, who was Shun Yu's daughter after all. Please sit. I called you here today because I have something to tell you. Although Shun Yu's tone was calm, it made all the experts below look at each other, because this was the first time the queen had spoken so calmly. At other times, he was domineering and arrogant. Now, she was only treating Li Lingtian and Shun Mei this way. This showed how much Li Lingtian and Shun Mei held in her heart. "Thank you, Your Majesty." Li Lingtian looked down and saw that there were still some empty seats. He then found a random spot to sit down. Shun Mei naturally sat next to Li Lingtian. At the same time, he swept his gaze around. The martial artists here were either elders or the queen's disciples and children. There were no outsiders here. "It's impossible for you to stay. Since you are not staying in the queen's palace, I will let you go. You have helped the queen's palace twice, so the queen's palace will not mistreat you." Do you know why the House of Storms attacked the queen's palace twice at all costs? Her Majesty, Shun Yu, looked at Shun Mei and Li Lingtian as she spoke. She completely ignored the others. "I don't know. It should be for the Dragon's Soul Jade and the Ancient Teleportation Array." When Li Lingtian saw Shun Yu speaking to him in a calm tone, he knew that she was not putting on airs. It was just that she was used to her noble temperament. Since he was being respected, he wouldn't put on airs. His principle was to return the favor. He didn't hide anything. It was normal for Shun Mei to tell him. After all, the two of them were very close. If he pretended not to know, people would suspect and look down on him. That's right. There are indeed two treasures in the Queen's palace. One is the ancient teleportation formation, and the other is the Dragon's Soul Jade. The ancient teleportation formation is in disrepair. I wonder what it's used for. However, the Dragon's Soul Jade has a strong origin. It's said that it was formed from the soul of the ancient flying dragon. The Dragon's Soul Jade is also the key to opening the Lost Forest. In the Lost Forest, it's said that there's a dragon's soul. If you obtain the dragon's soul, you can become an 8th-rank demonic beast. Warriors can also become powerful demonic cultivators. Shun Yu said faintly, telling him about the Dragon's Soul Jade. If it was in the past, she wouldn't have said it at all, because this was the secret of the queen's coquettishness. Only the queen's heir knew. But now that she had revealed this secret, she wasn't afraid of others knowing. Besides, old man Tian had already revealed it, so naturally, she couldn't hide this secret. I see. No wonder the House of Storms paid such a price to attack the Queen's palace. It was affected by the Dragon's Soul. In the Azure Continent, if one obtains a Dragon's Soul and becomes an 8th-rank demonic beast, they would be able to sweep across the Azure Continent. Even in the Black Continent, they would be a super powerful existence. Li Lingtian nodded with an expression of understanding. He was also very curious about the Dragon's Soul Jade and the Dragon's Soul. He was a member of the Dragon Clan, so he naturally knew everything about the Dragon Clan. He also had the Dragon Chi of the 3,000 sectors. What Dragon Soul? It should not be comparable to the true Dragon Chi and true Dragon Blood. That's right. We all know that there are countless demonic beasts in the Lost Forest, and there are also countless 5th, 6th, and 7th-rank demonic beasts. We also know that there might be dragon souls in there. However, the first queen of the Queen's palace discovered a shocking secret in there and was plotted against in the end. Our Queen's palace doesn't know what the secret is either. This time, Elder Tian of the Kanglan building came to fight for the Dragon's Soul Jade for the Dragon's Soul and secrets inside. The Queen's palace is already at loggerheads with the House of Storms, and so are you. This Dragon's Soul Jade is for you. As for what to do, that's your idea. The Queen said calmly, her expression unchanged. After saying that, the two Grand Elders put their hands together and each cast countless array formations. They used a full 10 minutes to cast thousands of spells. Then, the two of them combined their spells, and a hole appeared in the center of the Queen's palace. The hole was only a foot in size. It was a tiny spatial crack. The Queen's palace's experts had created an independent space from this tiny spatial crack. A brocade box fell to the ground. The Queen stretched out a hand and cast a spell. A thread of blood essence flew towards the brocade box. The blood essence turned into a blood mist and wrapped around the brocade box. Instantly, the brocade box seemed to be drawn to Queen Shun Yu's hand. All of this was so mysterious that no one could understand it but Li Lingtian did. Because he was a sacred array master, he knew the techniques of the two grand elders. Although the three of them had simple movements, if anything went wrong, the brocade box would be destroyed. In other words, this brocade box could only be opened by two grand elders and the queen's bloodline. After the brocade box landed in Queen Shun Yu's hands, she took out a blood-red jade pendant from the box. Li Lingtian immediately sensed a familiar aura when the jade pendant appeared. This aura was the pure dragon chi. Although it was not as pure as Little White's, it was much purer than the dragon chi he cultivated. After all, he was still a human and not a true dragon. He did not expect this jade pendant to actually have such pure dragon energy. It seemed that this jade pendant was the dragon's soul jade. Could it be that there's still a trace of a dragon's soul inside? Li Lingtian was extremely curious, but he did not voice it out. He only stared at the dragon's soul jade in Queen Shun Yu's hand earnestly, waiting for the queen to speak. In the beginning, Queen Shun Yu was right. The true strength of the Kanglan building had not yet appeared. If they did not deal with the Kanglan building, it would be a future trouble. This is the dragon's soul jade. It is also the key to opening the lost forest. Queen Shun Yu tossed the dragon's soul jade toward Li Lingtian with one hand. Now that the dragon's soul jade is in my hands, the House of Storms and the other powerhouses will naturally know. At that time, there will definitely be many powerhouses entering the lost forest. I'll take this opportunity to kill everyone from the House of Storms. Li Lingtian took the dragon's soul jade and examined it carefully. He looked calm and collected. He did not treat this place as the queen's palace at all but as if he was in his own backyard. After reading it, he immediately put the dragon's soul jade into the divine dragon ring and said indifferently. The rest of the people had different thoughts when they heard Li Lingtian's nonchalant words. Humph. A young man snorted coldly, his face revealing a disdainful expression. Li Lingtian's arrogance and disregard for him made him extremely displeased. However, just as he finished snorting, he was sent flying by a destructive aura. His body was like a kite with a broken string. Bang! With a dull thud, the middle-aged man fell to the ground.
If I didn't give Mei her face, you would have already died. Li Lingtian turned around to look at the man on the ground and spoke indifferently. His expression did not change at all. If a tiger did not show its might, it would be a sick cat. If he did not touch him, he would think that he was very powerful. You. Shun Hao's face turned pale. He was about to flare up, but Li Lingtian's gaze swept over him and he quickly shut his mouth.
Li Lingtian was the first person who dared to make a move in the queen's palace. They were both Supreme Realm experts, and he was already at the 4th level of the Supreme Realm. However, when faced with a first-level Supreme Realm expert, he did not even have the slightest bit of resistance. We're leaving. Li Lingtian held Shun Mei's hand and greeted Shun Yu with a faint smile on his face. Wait a minute. Her Majesty Shun Yu's expression did not change. To her, Li Lingtian sending Shun Hao flying was nothing. In the divine martial continent, the strong reigned supreme. Li Lingtian had merely sent him flying. If it were any other powerhouse, they would not have been sent flying but killed in an instant. However, when she saw Li Lingtian leaving, she shouted at him. Your Majesty, is there anything else you want me to do? Naturally, Li Lingtian did not believe that the queen would go against him for Shun Hao. Even though Shun Hao was from the queen's palace, he was an idiot. Who do you think is qualified to be the heir in the queen's palace? A rare smile appeared on the queen's face as she looked at Li Lingtian and Shun Mei seriously. Li Lingtian did not say anything. Instead, he looked at Shun Mei. Since the queen had asked him about this matter, she naturally did not treat him as an outsider. He didn't know about the situation in the queen's palace, but Shun Mei knew very well that he trusted her to make such a decision. Naturally, Shun Mei understood Li Lingtian's intention. Without further consideration, she looked at her senior sisters but neglected her two sisters. Husband, third senior sister Li Yingyu is not bad. After she retracted her gaze, she leaned against Li Lingtian and tiptoed. Her small mouth was close to Li Lingtian's ear as she softly voiced her choice. At the same time, Li Lingtian knew that Shun Mei had her eyes on Li Yingyue. Your Majesty, I don't know about the situation in the Queen's palace. Mei naturally knows about it in the Queen's palace. Just now, Mei said that her third senior sister is not bad. This is Junior's suggestion. If your Majesty has nothing else to say, I will take my leave first. Li Lingtian said calmly. As he finished his sentence, he looked at Shun Yu with a firm gaze without any flicker. Seeing that Shun Yu didn't say anything, he brought Shun Mei out of the Queen's palace and walked out.
Chapter 395, Chapter 395, The Lost Forest. Chapter 395, The Lost Forest. Young master, are we going to the Lost Forest? Thousands of miles away from the Queen's palace, on the war god, Yi Feng stood respectfully behind Li Lingtian and asked respectfully. Although the Kanglan building was destroyed, the real masters of the Kanglan building had long escaped. If he really wanted to wipe out the House of Storms, he would have to kill Old Man Tian Yin and the others. Moreover, there were dozens of martial monarch realm experts in the House of Storms. It would not be easy to deal with them. Go. Although we can't catch up with the Lost Forest, I believe that the experts of the House of Storms are not far away from the Lost Forest. We'll defeat them one by one and kill them one by one. Otherwise, after we leave, the House of Storms will definitely seek revenge from the Queen's palace. With the Queen's palace's strength, it's impossible for them to compete with the House of Storms. Li Lingtian said calmly. After he and Shun Mei left the Queen's palace, they returned to the war god. Huangfu Yuyan and the others didn't leave the war god either. They had been cultivating on the war god. This subordinate will obey. Yi Feng bowed respectfully. When he saw that Li Lingtian had no further instructions, he quietly retreated and ordered the victor to fly towards the Lost Forest. The Lost Forest was at the edge of the Azure Continent, between the Azure Continent and the Black Continent. This place was also a place that no one cared about. With the wargid speed, it would take a few months to reach the Lost Forest. Li Lingtian's arrangement was on the way. After they left the Lost Forest, they would be able to return to Green Island, which was very close to Green Island. He didn't know the other routes. The only thing he could do was choose a direction to fly. On the war god, not to mention a few months, they could even live for decades or centuries. Even a hurricane wouldn't be able to shake such a massive war god. He was indeed eager to return home, but he had to resolve the matter at the Queen's palace. If she left and took the Dragon Soul Jade with her, the House of Storms wouldn't be able to get the Dragon Soul Jade and would wipe out the Queen's palace in a fit of anger. Shun Mei would definitely be upset. When he left Spirit Rhyme City, he released the news that the Dragon Soul Jade had been taken away. After giving his instructions, Li Lingtian returned to the top 3 floors in a flash and cast a few incantations. Soon, Little White arrived in front of the restriction and activated it. Li Lingtian entered as well. Seeing that the girls were cultivating, Li Lingtian did not disturb them. Instead, he rested in the pavilion on the war god. He lay on the recliner, closed his eyes, and began to sleep. These days were quite relaxing. He could rest easily after cultivating. Moreover, he had a few peerless beauties accompanying him. Even immortals could not compare to him on such days. When she was half asleep, she felt a pair of gentle hands gently pressing on her shoulders. Li Lingtian did not even need to open his eyes to know who it was. The technique was Huangfu Yuyan's. Furthermore, Huangfu Yuyan's scent was unique. Every woman had her own unique aura. Li Lingtian did not open his eyes as he allowed Huangfu Yuyan's little hands to massage his shoulders slowly. Huang Fu Yuyan didn't say anything. Her small hands gently massaged her body, and a faint smile appeared on her face. After an unknown period of time, Li Lingtian stretched lazily and opened his eyes slightly. "You're awake." When Huang Fu Yuyan saw that Li Lingtian had woken up, she stood up and walked to Li Lingtian's side. She found a stool and sat down before placing her little hand on Li Lingtian's shoulder to massage him gently. "Yes."
Li Lingtian looked at Huang Fu Yuyan beside him with a faint smile on his face. His love for Huang Fu Yuyan had increased. Last time, for him, he was captured in Dishi family, and gave up his whole life's cultivation base to help him become a supreme realm warrior. Although she was a warrior sage in the past, she was now Li Lingtian's woman. Although very few people enter the Lost Forest, it's filled with danger. "Are you sure you want to go in?" Huang Fu Yuyan said as she looked at Li Lingtian with her beautiful eyes. Others might not know about the Lost Forest, but Huang Fu Yuyan knew about it. It was fraught with danger and was no less dangerous than the Devil Canyon and Nine Nether City. With Li Lingtian's current talent and wealth, as well as his heaven-defying aptitude, cultivation techniques, skills, and treasures, there was no need for him to go to the Lost Forest. "Yes, of course I'm going. Even if it's not for the treasure, I'm going to kill the experts of the House of Storms. Let's not talk about anything else. We must find a way to eliminate the few supreme martial emperors in the House of Storms. Otherwise, they'll be a future threat to the Queen's palace and me, Li Lingtian." Li Lingtian spoke in a serious tone. He was never used to keeping a threat, but rather, he would eliminate it in its cradle. Although the Azure Continent and the Azure Continent were far apart, it was not too far for a martial emperor powerhouse. They could go to the Azure Continent in just a year's time. If the House of Storms vented their anger on Green Island would be finished. The Azure Continent and the Serenity Plains were located in the same place. Even if the experts in the past felt that it was very far away, it was only the martial arts grandmasters and martial emperors who thought so. With the war god, Li Lingtian could return to Green Island in no time with his revered martial artist cultivation. "I knew it. With your personality, you'll definitely go to the Lost Forest. However, after entering, we have to be careful. After all, the demonic beasts inside are too powerful, and there are many martial monarch realm experts." Huang Fu Yuyan said with a smile. She was happy because she thought about the same thing as Li Lingtian. Having been with Li Lingtian for a long time, they had a good grasp of his personality. They were able to guess his decisions. "You're smart. You'll serve me tonight." Li Lingtian smiled as he reached out to touch Huang Fu Yuyan's little face. The smooth and tender feeling made his heart race. "Humph, in your dreams." Huang Fu Yuyan's face instantly turned red. She was extremely embarrassed. She was originally looking forward to it, but she was still a little shy when Li Lingtian said it out loud. Although she said no on the surface, she was thinking about it in her heart. Having tasted the forbidden fruit for the first time, she was naturally eager for such things. However, she was too embarrassed to pull Li Lingtian along. Occasionally, Li Lingtian would come to her room and she would be thrilled. "It's getting late. Let's go. As this young master's maidservant, what's the point of not attending to my bed?" Li Lingtian laughed. Before Huang Fu Yuyan could react, he lifted her up with both hands and carried her to her room. Huang Fu Yuyan cried out in surprise, but she was afraid that her other sisters would see this, so she could only suppress her voice. Her face was already red as she wrapped her arms around Li Lingtian's neck and buried her face deep into his embrace. Soon, Li Lingtian and his wife rolled onto the bed, making love and moaning incessantly. After a long time, the room finally quieted down. Huang Fu Yuyan's perfect body leaned against Li Lingtian's side. Her little face was blushing as she fell asleep with a satisfied smile. After a quiet night, Li Lingtian woke up early the next morning to see Huang Fu Yuyan sleeping soundly. He did not have the heart to disturb her. "You're awake. Go back to sleep." When Li Lingtian saw Huang Fu Yuyan waking up, he did not touch her but let her sleep for a while longer. "Okay, I'll sleep like this for a while. You have to accompany me too." Huang Fu Yuyan said coquettishly. Chapter 396, Chapter 396, Ancient Demonic Beast Black Qilin. Chapter 396, Ancient Demonic Beast Black Qilin. Naturally, Li Lingtian enjoyed such a thing. Looking at Huang Fu Yuyan beside him, he couldn't help but recall the first time he met her. At that time, Huang Fu Yuyan was still working as a maid in the auction house. He did not expect that it was this maid who concealed her beauty and sealed her martial saint cultivation, turning her into an ordinary maid. At the thought of this, she could not help but smile. Huang Fu Yuyan was puzzled when she saw Li Lingtian's smile, so she whispered into his ear. "What do you think is funny?" Naturally, Huang Fu Yuyan did not know what Li Lingtian was thinking. Curiosity was in everyone's heart, especially girls. Thinking about the first time we met in the auction house. Li Lingtian did not hide anything as he spoke frankly. Ever since the auction, he had not seen Huang Fu Yuyan at all. He did not expect that he would unintentionally save Huang Fu Yuyan. "Humph, you were still so sweet with jingling in front of me last time. In the end, I still looked up to your strength. At that time, I really didn't expect you to be so powerful. You even killed 3 Supreme Realm experts." Huang Fu Yuyan was extremely happy, and her face was filled with happiness. Li Lingtian did not notice Huang Fu Yuyan, but she had witnessed Li Lingtian's battle in Soliciting Moon City. She was curious as to how a martial arts grandmaster could kill a martial honor. Since then, Huang Fu Yuyan had been curious about Li Lingtian. A girl who was curious about a man was doomed. "Oh, I didn't expect that our martial saint would still pay attention to me. Looks like I'm not just handsome anymore. I'm also very charming." Li Lingtian was stunned. He immediately put on a narcissistic expression and reached out to touch his face. Huang Fu Yuyan laughed. "You can't be so narcissistic, right? I can't take it anymore." Huang Fu Yuyan patted her chest but soon realized that she was not wearing any clothes. She was completely seducing Li Lingtian. Furthermore, she noticed that Li Lingtian was staring at her chest. Hence, she pushed her chest out even more provocatively. Despite saying that, he did not deny Li Lingtian in his heart. Even though Li Lingtian was not handsome, he was delicate and handsome. His elegant temperament could make any girl fall for him. More importantly, Li Lingtian had cultivated the eye of the divine soul and possessed a devilish aura. Coupled with his heaven-defying cultivation and methods, he was a trump card against the hearts of all the girls in the world. "You're finished." Li Lingtian could not hold it in any longer as he leaped up. Being teased so blatantly, he still had to endure it. Wasn't he an idiot? As she raised both her hands, Huang Fu Yuyan moaned softly. She stared at Li Lingtian with a dazed look in her eyes as her delicate body twisted slightly. Half an hour later, the room quieted down. The two of them hugged each other tightly and rested for a while before Li Lingtian got up. However, when he woke up, he told Huang Fu Yuyan to sleep a little longer. When he woke up, the other girls were already cultivating. However, this time, they did not laugh at Li Lingtian because it was normal in their eyes. The war god flew for a month and a half. Everyone was quietly cultivating. Nothing much happened on the way. However, on this day, Li Lingtian was in the midst of his cultivation when the war god shook slightly. "Eh!" Li Lingtian exclaimed in surprise. Something that could shake the war god was definitely not that simple. His body flashed and he left the room. He came to the deck in front of the war god. When he came out, the others also came out. When they looked into the distance, their expressions changed drastically. They saw the war god crashing into a black object. The war god was at least 200 miles in size. This black thing had actually blocked the war god. The people controlling the war god were all martial honors, and there was also an array master inside. They shouldn't have bumped into anything else, so why did they bump into this pitch-black thing? "Young master!" Everyone shouted when they saw Li Lingtian coming out. With Li Lingtian's presence, they felt much more at ease. "Husband!" Big brother. A few girls came to Li Lingtian's side and looked at the scene before them in horror. The black object was 1,000 miles wide and looked like a huge mountain range. No one in the Azure continent had ever mentioned this black thing before. It must have appeared at the last minute. Otherwise, it was impossible for them not to have an impression of this. What's the name of this place? Li Lingtian nodded and asked Yi Feng with a grave expression. Young master, this is Black Scale City. Yi Feng answered without any hesitation. They had studied the Wargods route before, they would not make any mistakes. He also knew that this place was Black Scale City. Black Scale City. Li Lingtian was slightly taken aback, but he quickly began to ponder as his eyes kept sizing up the pitch-black object before him. This pitch-black object was more like a cloud of mist than a physical object. However, this mist had a physical feel to it, or else it wouldn't have crashed into the war god. Be careful. Get into the war god. I'll go take a look. Li Lingtian could not figure out what was going on and immediately ordered the war god to retreat 100 miles. After saying that, he pulled with one hand, and the Wargod's defensive array was torn apart. He then flashed out. After he left, the Wargod's defensive array was repaired once again. Li Lingtian looked at the huge black object and felt his insignificance. It was hundreds of miles tall and hundreds of miles in size. It looked like a demonic cloud. True dragon body protection. Heaven and earth creation cauldron. Ice and fire ring. Then, he used the true dragon body barrier, the heaven and earth creation cauldron, and the ice and fire ring. His body flashed quickly. He looked around the pitch-black object, but he still couldn't make out anything. Eye of the divine soul. He had thought of all methods, but there was no clue. He used the eye of the divine soul, and a red light appeared between his eyebrows. The red light went towards the black object. The moment the red light came into contact with the black object, Li Lingtian's body swayed and he spat out a mouthful of blood. His divine sense was attacked. It was not an attack, but it was reflected back. This was also because he was careful not to attack. Otherwise, he would have become a fool. Ancient divine beast Black Qilin. Li Lingtian did not care about the blood at the corner of his mouth as he cried out in surprise. His expression was changing rapidly. Ancient divine beast Black Qilin. Black Kirin. How is this possible? Why would Black Qilin appear here? An ancient divine beast is too terrifying. The powerhouses on the war god cried out in surprise when they heard Li Lingtian's words. Their faces were filled with disbelief. What kind of concept was an ancient divine beast? That was a demon beast from ancient times. No matter how trashy the ancient demonic beasts were, they were still much stronger than the demonic beasts of today. The ancient demonic beast was also at the first level of the fifth step. Although it couldn't be said to be instantly killed, it could still easily kill the current demonic beast. The ancient era was at least 1,000,000 years ago. Only 1,000,000 years ago did it become ancient. In this world, there were modern times, and ancient times. Moreover, there were even more distant times above. It's He Lin. It's just that he's injured and his cultivation has dropped. Li Lingtian spoke confidently. This Black Kirin was indeed Black Kirin, but it was not as powerful as he had imagined. When he swept his divine consciousness over it, Black Kirin was unable to resist at all and could only use his divine consciousness to defend itself. What puzzled him was why He Lin had suddenly appeared here. It was as if he had fallen from the sky. When he thought of the past, this place used to be safe. It was like a huge rock suddenly appearing on the road. Could it be that he transmigrated like me? Or is it related to the ancient times? Li Lingtian thought to himself that no one would believe him if he told anyone about this. However, he could trust his own thoughts because he had transmigrated. It was just that this Black Qilin had come from ancient times to the present, which made him feel that it was impossible. Saint Demon Quintessence. Li Lingtian shouted softly. Instantly, his aura changed. He became even more demonic, just like last time. This was also the time he used the demon race's cultivation method. Although he did not cultivate the Saint Demon quintessence, he was in control of it. A pure demonic aura erupted as his body floated in the air. His long hair fluttered in the wind, and he was elegant, just like a heaven-defying demonic god. Eh! The black object let out a surprised sound. It originally didn't take the human in front of it seriously, but when it saw this true demon chi, it was instantly shocked. He was clearly one person, and he cultivated the most powerful orthodox cultivation technique in the world, but now it was the most powerful cultivation technique of the demon race. Hey Lin, I have no ill intentions. Your injuries are not light. I have a way to stabilize your injuries. Li Lingtian said calmly as he stared coldly at Black Qilin. The pitch-black object was too powerful, like a huge mountain range. The gorilla demon was already huge enough, yet the one before him was Black Qilin. How could it be so terrifying? The gorilla demon was completely insignificant in front of it. Humans are despicable. Are you trying to play some tricks? He Lin was shocked and was almost bewitched. However, when he thought of how despicable humans were, he immediately calmed down and asked coldly, a trace of hostility emitting from his body. Although he was seriously injured and his cultivation was constantly decreasing, it was still very easy to eliminate this human in front of him. What tricks do you think I can play? In your current situation, I can just leave. You are between the monster race and the demon race and are not accepted by the other experts. If I leave, you will only die and disappear from the world. Li Lingtian could feel the change in Black Qilin. Although there was hostility, it was instinctive. If he saved He Lin, he would know what had happened. An ancient demon beast had actually appeared in this place. It was too strange for an ancient demon beast to come to the modern world. Chapter 397, Chapter 397, Subduing Black Qilin. Chapter 397, Subduing Black Qilin. Are you a demon or a human? Black Qilin's thoughts were transmitted to Li Lingtian. It was still fearful of the war god in the distance. Furthermore, there were other humans on the war god. It was strange for Black Qilin to come to this place. He did not want more humans to know about his existence. If the entire human race were to deal with him, he would really be finished. The young man in front of it gave it a very strange feeling. He could not be considered a demon, but he had the pure demonic chi of the demon race. I am a human, but I am also a demon. Li Lingtian's ambiguous words left He Lin speechless. Do you know how I got injured? Are you that confident? Black Qilin did not argue with Li Lingtian because it was not worth it. It wanted to know what Li Lingtian could do to stabilize its injuries. If this continued, even if it did not die, its cultivation base would be completely wiped out. More importantly, he wanted to know what Li Lingtian's conditions were. No, I haven't. But I can give it a try. Li Lingtian's words nearly made He Lin faint. He had been talking for a long time, yet he still could not find a solution. Furthermore, he was bragging shamelessly. However, Li Lingtian's last sentence made it feel that it was reliable. This was because the young man did not make any promises. He only wanted to give it a try. What are your conditions? He Lin said it directly. Humans were all incomparably cunning. Even he had fallen for many tricks. Although the human in front of him was not powerful, he was still too cunning. Don't treat me as one of those cunning people. As long as you follow me, I will not let you suffer. Li Lingtian replied indifferently as he stared at Black Qilin with a cold gaze. If such a huge Black Qilin was used as a pet, it would be a super warrior. It would be able to withstand a powerful enemy. This was not the most important thing. The main thing was that he wanted to know about the ancient times. Could it be that it still existed in ancient times? Impossible. Do you think you're worthy of me following you? Black Qilin waited for Li Lingtian to finish speaking before rejecting the offer without hesitation. It was an ancient demonic beast, so why would it choose an ordinary human as its master? You think I want you to be my pet? Huh, are you even worthy? Li Lingtian laughed out loud as the demonic chi around his body vanished. The moment the demonic chi vanished, a shocking demonic energy soared into the sky. The appearance of this demonic energy immediately made He Lin tremble. This was because the demonic force was the dragon energy, true dragon energy, unleashed by Li Lingtian. At that moment, Little White's body returned to its original form. A four-colored dragon was hovering in the air, leaning intimately against Li Lingtian. Although it was intimate with Li Lingtian, its shocking true dragon's chi and dragons might made all the demons tremble. Roar! Roar! With another two roars, Longda and the silver-winged flying dragon had arrived behind Li Lingtian and hovered in the air. They glared at the gigantic black qilin as if they were showing off their might. Both of them had shocking dragon chi. Longda's dragon chi was not as pure as the silver-winged flying dragon's, and the purity of the silver-winged flying dragon's dragon chi was much weaker than Little White's. True dragon chi. Four-colored dragon. At this moment, He Lin could not help but be shocked. Although he did not know where Black Qilin's eyes were, he could imagine its shocked expression. Not to mention Longda and the silver-winged flying dragon, the main one was Little White's four-colored dragon. This was the strongest existence in the True Dragon clan. Although this four-colored dragon was still very weak, it was a true dragon. The four-colored dragon was only a young dragon. When it grew up, it would be the strongest existence in the entire demon race. It was the legend of the dragon race and the demon race. It could rival the supreme mighty figures of the world. It was also the only existence of the demon race that was on equal footing with the human mighty figures. The three demonic beasts in front of him all carried shocking dragon energy. Black Qilin was an ancient divine beast, so it naturally could see that the silver-winged flying dragon and Longda had mutated because they had obtained dragon energy. In other words, this mutation was man-made, and the young man in front of him was that person. The true dragon followed Li Lingtian as a pet. Although Black Qilin was an ancient divine beast, it would be nothing more than trash when the four-colored dragon grew up. Moreover, this human in front of him also carried the aura of a true dragon. He was definitely also a powerhouse of the dragon clan. Now, he finally understood how embarrassing he was. Everyone else was from the dragon race, and they even had a four-colored dragon as their companion. What was he? Even if it was a fool, it knew what a four-colored dragon represented. It represented the only heir of the dragon race and was also a miracle of the dragon race. Although my cultivation isn't high, I've just turned 20 years old. Give me a few more years and I'll sweep the entire divine martial continent. They are the same. I can raise their cultivation by one level every year. Even if they are ants, I will make them the rulers of a region. Li Lingtian's aura burst forth faintly. His expression was calm as a supreme aura wafted through the air. This kind of confidence was enough to make the world's experts and geniuses lower their heads. I'll give you 1 minute. Either follow me or I'll leave. Li Lingtian's words were straightforward. He did not have a grudge against Black Kirin, so he did not have to waste his breath. After he finished speaking, he floated in the air. Whitey and Longda also transformed into human forms. The silver-winged flying dragon returned to the war god. Although the war god was not as good as the one in the divine dragon ring, the war god's safety was now under their protection. After Little White transformed into its human form, it looked exactly like Li Lingtian. The female version of Li Lingtian was charming, adorable, and peerless. Brother, am I prettier? Xiao Bai was beside Li Lingtian. Li Lingtian nearly fainted when he heard Xiao Bai's words. It was impossible for Xiao Bai to learn such narcissistic words from him. Yes, she's more beautiful now. Stop being so mischievous. Let's go back. We're leaving. Li Lingtian reached out and pinched Little White's face. After spending so much time with her, he had gotten used to Little White's appearance. Furthermore, this Little White was a beautiful dragon lady, so naturally, he liked her. The sky was temporarily silent. Hei Lin's heart was in turmoil. Who was this young man? Demonic chi, true dragon chi, and the righteous chi of heaven and earth were all gathered on one person. Even Xiao Longnu, the most respected member of the dragon clan, was so intimate with him. Needless to say, their relationship was very good. What tempted him was that Li Lingtian could increase the demonic beast's cultivation realm. Right now, he needed to stabilize his cultivation and heal his injuries. This young man in front of him was undoubtedly the best choice. I'll follow you, but I can't help you now. Hei Lin muttered to himself for a while before speaking. Even the dragon clan followed him, so what was a mere black Qilin? In that case, I'll stabilize your injuries. There's a place suitable for you to cultivate and heal. After Li Lingtian finished speaking, his body flashed. After a full 10 minutes, he had finally cast 6 to 7 formations. Black Kirin also slowly became smaller, and the black chi was completely retracted. A demonic beast the size of a calf was revealed. Its entire body was pitch black, and even its eyes were black and shiny. The black object was the aura of Black Scale. Although he was seriously injured, Black Scale was powerful enough to shake the war god. After his body shrunk, Li Lingtian was able to solve the problem easily.
The aura of his entire body changed. His entire person was extremely demonic. A trace of pure demonic chi pressed down on Hei Lin. The demonic chi entered Hei Lin's body and continued to wreak havoc inside. Then, with a thought, the divine dragon ring was opened. True dragon chi drifted out and wrapped around Hei Lin. With the support of the true devil chi and true dragon chi, it was enough to stabilize Hei Lin's injuries. After a moment, Li Lingtian shook his head and sighed to himself.
The black Qilin's injuries were too severe. He could not heal it at all and could only suppress its injuries. This was because Hei Lin's injury was caused by a divine artifact and divine chi. In other words, this injury was caused by an ancient mighty figure. He had divine artifacts and divine personalities, but he didn't have divine chi. He only had true essence. True essence and divine chi were completely different concepts. Unless one reached the level of a real god, it was impossible for one to possess divine chi. I can't treat your injuries for the time being. I can only suppress them. However, you can cultivate. When I reach that realm, I can easily treat your injuries. Li Lingtian did not feel embarrassed at all as he spoke directly. If he couldn't do it, he couldn't do it. He didn't easily find excuses for himself. I know that you can treat my injuries, but not now. Unless your true dragon chi reaches a certain realm, or your cultivation reaches a certain realm, no matter what kind of elixir you have, you won't be able to treat my injuries. It's already not bad that you can stabilize my injuries. It's impossible for my cultivation to recover. I'll wait for you to reach that realm one day. Hei Lin was stunned. This young man had exceeded his expectations. If other people could not do it after boasting, they would definitely find a lot of reasons and excuses to step down. However, this young man had no such intentions. This was also what made him curious. Such a person was definitely not a wicked person. His current situation was not good. If he did not suppress his injuries, he would die and his cultivation would fall. It was already very heaven-defying for this young man to be able to suppress his injuries. Your sea of consciousness has been destroyed. You only have a wisp of memory. When Li Lingtian activated his Eye of the Divine Soul, he accidentally discovered that Black Qilin's awareness had been completely destroyed. Only a tiny part of it was intact. With the destruction of his awareness, his memories were also incomplete. This made him speechless. He had wanted to get some information from Hei Lin, but now, he could not get anything. He was speechless when he thought about how he had worked for nothing. I didn't expect that with your cultivation, you could see the changes in my sea of consciousness. You really have a lot of secrets. Hei Lin was shocked. Although its cultivation had fallen, it was a powerful divine beast in the past, a divine beast that surpassed the 10th rank. Now that its cultivation had fallen to a miserable state, its sea of consciousness was not something that ordinary humans could see through. It did not expect this young man to be able to see through it so easily. How could this not be shocking? The young man in front of them had too many tricks up his sleeve. Chapter 398, Chapter 398, Heading to the Lost Forest. Chapter 398, Heading to the Lost Forest. Alright, you can cultivate in peace. I won't disturb you anymore. When I reach that realm, I'll treat you. Li Lingtian's expression did not change at all as he looked at He Lin. With a thought, the holy demon ring was activated. A ball of black light swallowed He Lin. When He Lin appeared again, he was already inside the holy demon ring. Although there was no powerful demonic qi inside, one could cultivate. It was a quiet place to cultivate. Although there were items like magical crystals in this place, Li Lingtian was the master of the place. He could divide the place into countless smaller areas so Black Qilin would not be able to touch his items. After cleaning up Black Kirin, Li Lingtian returned to the war god in a flash. Congratulations, young master, for obtaining the ancient divine beast, Black Qilin. Everyone was overjoyed but not envious. This was because by being with Li Lingtian, they would grow stronger as Li Lingtian grew stronger. He did not expect that this disaster would turn into a good thing. Such a good thing was definitely heaven-defying. However, they all understood that if it was in front of them, they would definitely not be able to survive such a calamity, let alone subdue this He Lin. Only a heaven-defying person like Li Lingtian could turn a bad thing into a good thing. In this world, there were laws and the laws were only applicable to ordinary martial artists. However, in this world, people differed from person to person. Li Lingtian was one such person. It's nothing. We don't know the situation yet. Let's pretend that this matter never happened. Li Lingtian waved his hand before returning to his quarters at the top and standing beside Huangfu Yuyan and the others. He did not want this matter to spread. After all, it was too shocking. You are injured. Huangfu Yuyan looked at the bloodstain on Li Lingtian's lips and took out a silk handkerchief to help wipe it away gently. Li Lingtian's divine consciousness had been reflected earlier, which had shaken his mind. That was why he was injured. He had to take care of his injured divine consciousness or he would not even have a chance to retaliate if he were to encounter a powerhouse. Big brother, how are you? Husband, are your injuries serious? Ling Tian's divine sense is injured, he needs to recuperate first. Should we stop the war god first and wait for you to recover before heading to the Lost Forest? Ge and the others asked in concern as they surrounded Li Lingtian. Li Lingtian's face cracked into a smile. The few peerless beauties around him were pleasing to the eye. Moreover, his concerned look at this time made him feel warm and happy. However, he also had a greater responsibility. It's fine. I just need to recuperate for a period of time. However, we do need to find a place to stop the war god and hide it. I can go into the Lost Forest alone. Li Lingtian pondered for a moment before he sent a voice transmission to Yi Feng to hide the war god. He had to hide the war god so that no one would be able to trace the war god. Then, he would look for a sea area or a place to hide the war god. He would hide the war god in the area closest to the Lost Forest. It's not good for you to go in alone. Tang Qingyue looked at Li Lingtian and said earnestly. I'll just take little white and Longda with me. With the gorilla demon by my side, no one can threaten me. Li Lingtian said seriously. It was impossible to use the war god in the Lost Forest. If he were to use the war god in there, it would be too conspicuous and attract the attention of the powerful demons. That would be a fool. Lingtian, I'll go in too. This way, I can take care of your life. Tang Qingyue looked at Li Lingtian with anticipation in her eyes. She was yearning for something. That's fine too. That's all for now. You guys continue. I'll go back and recuperate. Li Lingtian pondered for a moment before nodding in agreement. He then turned around and headed back to his room. 1 foot 11 inches help you. Shun Mei watched Li Lingtian leave and quickly followed him. She and Li Lingtian had cultivated the dual cultivation cannon. Although their cultivation levels could not be used at the moment, they would definitely be of great help to Li Lingtian in healing his injuries. As she followed, a series of laughter rang out from behind her. Shun Mei turned around and made a funny face. She wasn't afraid of these sisters laughing at her anymore. After entering the room, Shun Mei unbuttoned Li Lingtian's long robe and mixed a bowl of fragrant tea for him. She then fed it to Li Lingtian before sitting on the chair opposite her. As Li Lingtian was trying to recover his divine consciousness, he could not perform dual cultivation. He could only wait for Li Lingtian's divine consciousness to recover before stabilizing Li Lingtian's injuries. Eye of the Divine Soul. After calming himself down, Li Lingtian sat cross-legged and activated the Eye of the Divine Soul. He quickly used the Eye of the Divine Soul to condense his divine consciousness and repair his injured divine consciousness. Again and again, again and again. After an unknown amount of time, Shun Mei had already fallen asleep on the chair. In the following days, Li Lingtian and Shun Mei's cultivation base rose rapidly as they cultivated together. During the day, he would cultivate skills, study cultivation techniques and alchemy techniques, and refine treasures. At night, he would cultivate with Shun Mei. Li Lingtian was in Huangfu Yuyan and Qingling's room after his injuries were healed. He was heading to the Lost Forest and he did not know how long it would take for him to return. Naturally, Huangfu Yuyan and the rest could not follow him in. 2 months had passed. The war god had been flying in stealth, as if it had completely disappeared into space. In the end, the war god entered a sea area. Along the way, Li Lingtian brought Tang Qingyue, Xiao Bai, and Big Dragon out of the war god. Lingtian, the Lost Forest isn't far away, right? Tang Qingyue's fair hand was holding Li Lingtian's arm. They looked extremely intimate and did not seem distant at all. It was as if they were lovers. On the other side, Xiao Bai was holding Li Lingtian's hand. Li Lingtian enjoyed the company of 2 peerless beauties on his left and right. Longda had been following behind, but his divine sense had been extending out. As long as there was a slight movement, he would launch a destructive blow and nip the danger in the bud. Now, Longda was wholeheartedly following Li Lingtian without any other thoughts. Deep down, he admired and respected Li Lingtian. His cultivation had also risen from the first level of the 7th step to the second level of the 7th step, making him extremely excited. Li Lingtian had also said that he would be able to transform into a true dragon after some time. There's still 1 more day before we reach the Lost Forest. Li Lingtian nodded. As they flew, many warriors were heading toward the Lost Forest. Although they didn't know if the Kanglin building had obtained the Dragon's Soul Jade, countless experts had seen the movements of the Kanglin building. The experts of the Kanglin building rushed to the Kanglin building together, which naturally aroused the suspicion of others. As a result, the experts of the Azure Continent and Serenity Plains secretly rushed to the Lost Forest to investigate. The war god was flying stealthily in the air, so naturally, no one noticed it. However, he did notice the other powerhouses. This place was not far from the Lost Forest. Right, Lingtian, do you think the experts of the House of Storms will know that you've come to the Lost Forest? Tang Qingyue asked softly as she looked up at Li Lingtian like a little girl who had just fallen in love with her first love. Her face was filled with joy. They definitely know, and they should have released the news to distract us so that they can take advantage of us. Moreover, they are confident that they can kill me in the Lost Forest because the Lost Forest is filled with danger. There are many restrictions, and some of the things inside can suppress the gorilla demons. As Li Lingtian spoke, he looked at the exquisite face in front of him that could be described as perfect. Feeling tempted, he could not help but reach out and touch her face. I'm Mengmeng's sister, your sister-in-law. You can't touch me. Tang Qingyue's heart skipped a beat when she saw Li Lingtian's actions. She felt extremely sweet, but she still said that she was Li Lingtian's sister-in-law and giggled after that. That's right, big brother. Sister Qingyue is your sister-in-law.
How can you touch her like this? Xiao Bai laughed as well. Li Lingtian's face darkened. What sister? If she was his sister, why would she be hugging his arm? Li Lingtian knew that Tang Qingyue was teasing him on purpose, but he did not mind. Instead, he was excited. Little girl, what did you say? Li Lingtian pinched Little White's little face as soon as he finished speaking. His face revealed a lecherous expression. By the way, I wonder how Meng Meng and the others are doing. Tang Qingyue thought of her sister. She had followed Li Lingtian here alone because she knew that he was returning to Green Island. If they did not make any progress, they would not stand a chance when they returned. She wasn't worried about her younger sister, but she felt bad about herself. Naturally, Tang Qingyue understood Tang Zimeng's thoughts. Tang Zimeng also wanted her to marry Li Lingtian. However, Tang Qingyue had been married to the Dishi family of Gang Province in the past, so there was nothing she could do. The two sisters had a good relationship since they were young and loved each other. Naturally, they were worried about each other's well-being. She did not expect Li Lingtian to come to the Tsang continent by accident and rescue her. As such, her impression of Li Lingtian increased. It was normal for a man to have 3 wives and 4 concubines, and it was not bad to share a husband with his sister. At least the two sisters were together. They will definitely be fine. Don't worry, I will settle the matter here and return to Green Island. Li Lingtian consoled her as he was worried about Tang Zimeng and the others. He had left Green Island for a few years and did not know what Green Island had become. After the matter here was settled, he definitely had to return to Green Island first. Otherwise, he would not feel at ease.
Chapter 399, Chapter 399, Dragon's Valley. Chapter 399, Dragon's Valley. The Lost Forest. It was one of the most mysterious secret realms in the Azure continent. Although this lost forest had always existed, not many people dared to enter. They all hunted in the periphery or at the edge. Even martial emperors, martial supremacies, and even martial sovereigns did not dare to enter. Because there were powerful 5th and 6th rank demon beasts inside, and even demon beasts in human form, when warriors entered, they immediately became a delicious meal for the demon beasts. However, today, many powerful martial artists had appeared at the originally peaceful edge of the lost forest. There were martial emperors, martial supremes, and even martial sovereigns. The sudden appearance of so many experts shocked countless martial artists who were hunting. Could it be that the world has changed? There are actually so many martial emperors and martial venerables. Isn't that so? In such a place, we only occasionally see 1 or 2 martial emperors and martial supremes. I didn't expect so many experts to come in the past few days. Could it be that these experts are going to enter the depths? Impossible, right? There are transformed demonic beasts in the depths. Wouldn't we be courting death if we go? We'd better be careful. Otherwise, we'll be killed by some bad-tempered experts. That'll be the worst-case scenario. At the edge of the lost forest, countless warriors who were hunting looked at the experts who came from time to time. They all flashed past and completely ignored the low-level warriors here. Such a situation shocked countless martial artists, as if the sky was about to change. Li Lingtian was surrounded by beautiful women who were embracing him while Longda followed him with a calm expression. It was a demonic beast in human form. Naturally, it would ignore such matters. Besides, if it were to see Li Lingtian with a girl, it would be asking for a beating. Along the way, countless low-level martial artists avoided them far away, their eyes revealing envious expressions. If any martial artist revealed a greedy expression or a blasphemous gaze, they would die with one word and be killed by Longda in one strike. Countless demonic beasts also avoided him. Although Longda had transformed into a human, his entire body carried a terrifying demonic power pressure and an even more terrifying dragon aura. Demonic beasts were very strict about their ranks. Moreover, Longda's body carried dragon energy. What was dragon energy? It was the aura of the dragon race. What was a dragon? A dragon was the ancestor of all demons, the boss of the demon race. No demon race was more powerful than the dragon race. This was also why the demon race regarded the dragon race as the strongest existence. In fact, the dragon race did not have any thoughts at all because the dragon race had already surpassed the 3 worlds and 5 elements. They did not belong to the demon race in the 3 worlds. They were a transcendental race. Li Lingtian ignored Longda and continued to chat with the 2 beauties. Little White was not bothered by it, but Tang Qingyue was. Tang Qingyue was so beautiful that she could topple cities. Her every frown and smile carried endless charm. Moreover, she was Li Lingtian's self-proclaimed sister-in-law. However, she was pulling Li Lingtian's arm, which added a new flavor to Li Lingtian's life. He did not mind anything happening between him and Tang Qingyue as their relationship was already very deep. If you encounter a dragon soul and obtain it, you'll be able to raise the true dragon body protection to the 4th level. At that time, you'll become a true dragon. Moreover, your cultivation base has also increased greatly. Little White said softly. As it spoke, it bounced and shuttled through the forest. The dragon's soul jade is with me. There is a chance to open the lost forest, but whether we can obtain the dragon's soul depends on luck. Our main goal is to kill the experts of the House of Storms. As long as we eliminate a few super experts of the House of Storms, we will achieve our goal. Although Li Lingtian was very interested in the dragon's soul, it was something that could only be found by chance. It was not something that could be obtained so easily. He never insisted on things like luck, but he was used to controlling everything. Is there really a dragon's soul inside? Tang Qingyue was also puzzled. Why did so many experts come to the Queen's palace to fight for the dragon's soul jade? Wasn't it just to open the lost forest? If the Queen's palace was persuaded, wouldn't the lost forest be opened? Naturally, she did not know about the situation in the Queen's palace. Occult treasure would not be wasted so easily. The Queen's palace was using this dragon's soul jade to restrain the experts of the Azure continent. As long as the dragon's soul jade was in the Queen's palace, no one would dare to act recklessly. Now, the House of Storms had seized it by force, but Li Lingtian had the upper hand. They all understood that opening the lost forest required dragon's soul jade. However, it would be much more convenient to enter the lost forest with the guidance of the dragon's soul jade. There should be a dragon soul. I can feel the true dragon soul in the dragon's soul jade. Although this soul is very weak, this dragon soul really exists. I just don't know what it's like inside the lost forest. Li Lingtian did not hesitate either because he really had dragon energy and a trace of dragon soul in the dragon soul jade. Since there was a dragon soul in the dragon soul jade, there should naturally be a dragon soul inside. A dragon soul was the soul of a true dragon. No matter how powerful the dragon soul was or how small it was, as long as it was a dragon soul, it could allow a human to become a dragon and cultivate the dragon race's cultivation techniques. The 3 of them flew as they talked. The deeper they went, the more powerful the demonic beasts became. At first, there were low-level demonic beasts of the 1st and 2nd rank outside, but there were demonic beasts of the 3rd and 4th rank inside. Now, they could actually see demonic beasts of the 5th and 6th rank at will. Fortunately, they did not see any demonic beasts of the 7th rank, or else it would have taken some time. On this day, Li Lingtian's group of 3 arrived at a huge canyon in the depths. Dragon's Valley was a name given to the powerhouses in the outside world. By the time Li Lingtian and the others arrived, there were already more than 100 powerhouses here. Each of them was a martial emperor or a martial supreme, and there were even a few martial emperor powerhouses. Young Noble Lingtian. Sir Lingtian. Your Excellency, Pill Saint. Young Noble Lingtian has arrived. Upon seeing Li Lingtian's arrival, countless powerhouses stood up to greet him. Most of the powerhouses here knew Li Lingtian. Even those who did not know him stood up and greeted him when they heard his name, lest they upset him. Seeing the 2 peerless beauties beside Li Lingtian, all the warriors lowered their heads, afraid to look at the two girls. This was because Li Lingtian's Achilles' heel was the women around him. If anyone were to violate his women, it would be the extermination of the entire clan. Li Lingtian nodded in return. He looked around but did not see any powerhouses from the House of Storms. There were only a few martial emperor powerhouses here, let alone the powerhouses from the House of Storms. Not to mention old man Tian Yin, he was already heavily injured, so he naturally did not appear here. Do you all wish to enter the depths of the Lost Forest? Li Lingtian glanced at all the powerhouses with a faint smile on his face. Tang Qingyue and Xiao Bai were amused by his smile because Li Lingtian was always ready to play tricks at this moment. Of course. All the powerhouses nodded in agreement. They wondered if Li Lingtian had any other tricks up his sleeve. Sigh, this dragon's soul jade can only be used once. Do you think that you can enter the Lost Forest without a dragon's soul jade? Li Lingtian sighed as he looked into the void with a look of regret on his face. Anyone who saw it would feel an inexplicable sigh. Of course, without the dragon's soul jade, we naturally can't enter the depths of the Lost Forest. All the experts answered. They thought that something was wrong, but they did not know what was wrong. Since that's the case, then this dragon's soul jade is very precious. Sister Qingyue, what do you think we should do? Li Lingtian looked at Tang Qingyue and pretended to feel sorry for her. The heartache on his face was obvious. Lingtian, I know you want them to go in. How about this? A martial monarch will enter with 50 million spiritual stones, a martial supreme with 200 million spiritual stones, and a martial supreme with 1 billion spiritual stones. What do you think? Tang Qingyue's heart skipped a beat, and her playful nature returned. She thought for a moment and said softly. Although her voice was soft, everyone heard her clearly. Instantly, all the martial artists had black lines on their faces. They quickly looked at Li Lingtian, hoping that he would not be so shameless. They also hoped that Li Lingtian would not do as a girl said. But what happened next made them despair. Since that's the case, Sister Qingyue has the final say. When the time comes, I'll buy Sister Qingyue beautiful clothes with spirit stones. As Li Lingtian spoke, his gaze fell on Tang Qingyue's body. His eyes swept across her chest. Even though her high chest was hidden under the tube top, her low-cut shirt could still be seen. Moreover, her light shirt could also be seen faintly. This made her even more alluring. Naturally, Tang Qingyue knew that Li Lingtian had good taste. She puffed out her chest proudly with a mischievous smile on her face. She was completely different from the cold and arrogant peerless beauty she was before. A white muslin and a light black ribbon tied around her waist made her look exquisite. Sure, I'll buy a lot of beautiful clothes then. I want beautiful clothes too. Tang Qingyue laughed, and Little White joined in. He naturally couldn't let go of such a fun thing. Young master, what about me? Longde, who was behind him, also laughed foolishly. However, he only received one word in reply. Get lost. With a smile on his face, Li Lingtian uttered a single word. Hee hee. Kiki, Kiki. Longde, you're not a beauty. My brother likes beautiful women. Tang Qingyue and Little White chuckled, completely ignoring the countless experts in front of them. Xiao Bai turned around and looked at Longde, the smile on her face growing wider. Naturally, Longde knew that Li Lingtian was not angry and was only joking. If Li Lingtian were to get angry, he would be killed immediately. He didn't dare to disobey Little White's words because Little White was the real Dragon Clan, the Dragon Lady of the Dragon Clan. She had an extremely respected status. Moreover, Little White was a miracle of the dragon race. It was the only one who could cultivate to the 9-colored dragon god level. The four of them echoed each other here, but the experts below had bitter expressions on their faces. Because of so many spirit stones, wasn't this a scam? If he didn't give them spirit stones, he wouldn't be able to enter. It was impossible to force his way in. With Li Lingtian's strength, No one dared to provoke him. Even a martial emperor powerhouse could only submit to him. For a moment the entire Dragon Valley fell silent. They didn't know what to do. If they took out so many spiritual stones, they might not be able to earn it back inside. But if they didn't take out spiritual stones, they wouldn't be able to enter. They had no chance at all. Chapter 400, Scheming. Chapter 400, Scheming. Why, aren't you guys going in? Li Lingtian said indifferently. His face was calm and relaxed. He did not take the dozens of martial emperors and martial honors seriously at all. Even the 5 to 6 martial emperor powerhouses were ignored. His gaze gradually turned cold. Wherever his gaze passed, many experts could not help but lower their noble heads. Immediately, Li Lingtian came to a realization. With a flash, he flew toward the huge rune in Dragon Valley. Behind the rune was a huge stone wall that was as smooth as a mirror. However, there was a slot on the wall that was surrounded by countless formations. Li Lingtian did not hesitate. He extended his hand and the dragon's soul jade appeared in his hand. He then pressed the dragon's soul jade into the card slot. Boom! With a thunderous sound, the spiritual chi between heaven and earth changed rapidly. As the spirit chi surged toward him, Li Lingtian's body flashed as he left quickly. He returned to Tang Qingyue's side and observed the changes in the sky. Crash! There was a slight sound, like the sound of water. The originally smooth stone wall became as smooth as water. Moreover, the stone wall began to fluctuate slightly. This was no longer a stone wall. It was completely a horizontal surface that could stand upright. Li Lingtian threw a stone over to test the waters. The stone did not bounce back at all. Instead, it was sucked into the stone wall as if it had penetrated the surface of the water and entered the bottom of the lake. Seeing this scene, all the experts' eyes were wide open. This way, they could enter the lost forest. However, it was now up to Li Lingtian. If he wanted to enter, he would have to pay spiritual stones. Otherwise, he would not be allowed to enter. That's enough. Li Lingtian extended his hand and activated the divine dragon ring with his divine consciousness. The gorilla demon was released from the divine dragon ring. Immediately, a destructive demonic power pressed down from the sky. Countless experts felt a wave of destructive pressure. The gorilla demon's huge body was like a huge mountain standing on one side of Dragon Valley, and a terrifying pressure was constantly emitted. 8th rank demonic beast. 8th rank demonic beast. All the powerhouses exclaimed in surprise. Even though everyone knew that Li Lingtian had an 8th order mystical beast, it was even more shocking to see it in person. The gorilla demon stood motionless on the ground. Li Lingtian did not move either. Instead, he came to Dragon Valley's stone wall and sat down with his arms crossed over his chest. He looked like a security guard as if he was collecting protection fees. When everyone saw this, they were all stunned. In such a situation, if they wanted to enter the Lost Forest, they had to pay spirit stones. If they didn't pay, they wouldn't be able to enter. When the gorilla monster came out, it looked at Li Lingtian in confusion. There was a hint of doubt in its eyes, but it was more of a question. This was because it had already attacked twice. If it attacked again this time, its demonic power and lifespan would all disappear, and it would only be able to sleep. Li Lingtian was aware of the gorilla demon's doubts. He transmitted his voiceover and conveyed his intentions. The gorilla demon nodded. This was also its last attack. It would be in an eternal slumber after it made its move. It could only wait for Li Lingtian to wake it up so that it could be reborn and recover to a higher state. After receiving this information, the terrifying aura of the gorilla demon erupted. As long as someone dared to act recklessly, it would launch a destructive attack. Moreover, Li Lingtian had also informed the gorilla demon that he was only here to kill the powerhouses from the House of Storms. The powerhouse's objective was to get these people to hand over their spiritual stones. I'll pay 50 million spirit stones. I'll also pay 200 million spirit stones. I'll pay spirit stones. This is 1 billion. This is 50 million. Finally, someone could not hold it in anymore. He counted all his spirit stones and handed them all to Longda. Longda collected a person's spirit stones and let that person enter. Time passed bit by bit. All the experts had entered the lost forest. There was not a single expert left outside. However, Li Lingtian did not speak because the true powerhouse had yet to arrive. He didn't mind waiting in this place for a while. After all, the lost forest was open and wouldn't close. Moreover, with the dragon's soul jade, he could enter and exit at any time. After all the experts entered, more experts flew over. Li Lingtian decided to use a stream of true essence to form a string of words. 50 million martial emperors, 200 million martial venerables, and 1 billion martial emperors. More than 10 words floated in front of the stone wall in the air. When an expert came, Longda pointed at the stone wall, indicating to look at the words on it. The powerhouses had no choice but to admit defeat when they saw Li Lingtian, Longda, and the terrifying gorilla demon. Even if someone wanted to die, they would have to watch the gorilla demon yield. Even the most powerful martial monarch realm expert would be courting death for a rank 8 demonic beast. As the days passed, Li Lingtian decided to set up countless formations here before he found a cave to rest in. With two peerless beauties living together, he was naturally carefree. Half a month passed, and the experts still came one after another. They paid spirit stones and entered the lost forest. Li Lingtian did not care how many spiritual stones there were because he did not care about the spiritual stones but the powerhouses of the House of Storms. However, there was no sign of any powerhouses from the House of Storms. As such, Li Lingtian felt that this would not work. Lingtian, with the gorilla demon here, the experts from the House of Storms shouldn't come. They're just wasting time with us. Tang Qingyue could also tell how terrifying the gorilla demon was. Other than the 8th or 9th level martial monarch realm experts who dared to fight, the other experts did not have the consciousness to resist. She understood Li Lingtian's concerns. If he did not call out the gorilla demon, he would not be able to withstand a sneak attack from the powerhouses of the House of Storms. However, if he called out the gorilla demon, the powerhouses of the House of Storms would be able to tell at a glance. Naturally, they would not come to their deaths. I know. Let's wait for another 10 days. After we collect the spiritual stones, we'll hide and wait for the experts of the House of Storms to come. Then, we'll give them a destructive attack. Li Lingtian nodded. If he were to enter immediately, the House of Storms might suspect him. If he were to wait for a while longer, they might think that Li Lingtian could not wait any longer. Brother's idea is not bad. Brother is getting more and more handsome. Little White said with a smile. She looked extremely cute, but she was also very naughty. You're indirectly saying that you're getting more and more beautiful, right? Li Lingtian pinched Xiao Bai's little face. Xiao Bai looked exactly like him. If he praised Xiao Bai for being handsome, it would mean that he was complimenting himself for being pretty. Am I not beautiful? Whitey felt embarrassed for a while after being exposed, but it quickly recovered. Following that, Li Lingtian and the others cultivated quietly as they waited for the powerhouses to arrive. After 10 days, Li Lingtian and the others looked anxious. They then recalled the gorilla demon and quickly flew into the stone wall. The stone wall shook and they disappeared. Exalt, they have already entered. Half an hour after Li Lingtian and the others disappeared, a martial emperor powerhouse reported to Elder Tian Yin at a hidden spot 1,000 miles away from Dragon Valley. The current old man Tian Yin had lost both his hands, and his strength had become extremely unstable. A 6th heaven martial monarch realm expert had actually become like this. It was really bleak. Behind him, there were 3 6th level martial emperors, 4 5th level martial emperors, and even dozens of ordinary martial emperors. The rest were all supreme martial honors. Wait a minute. This Li Ling Tian is extremely cunning. Don't be fooled. Old man Tian Yin became furious at the mention of Li Ling Tian. He was a 6th firmament martial emperor, yet he was almost beaten to death. I'll go and observe again. After the martial emperor finished speaking, his body disappeared as if he had turned into air. His movement technique was extremely magical. As time passed, the Dragon Valley was extremely quiet. Even if a powerhouse occasionally entered, they would be able to enter safely. No longer did long to collect spirit stones. 13 experts entered the Lost Forest without paying spirit stones. 3 days had passed and Li Ling Tian had yet to show up. Supremacy, 3 days have passed and 13 martial emperor powerhouses have entered the Lost Forest. However, none of them have seen Li Ling Tian collect the spiritual stones and safely enter the Lost Forest. The martial emperor powerhouse who was scouting for information had observed Dragon Valley countless times and had seen everything in Dragon Valley. He should really have entered. No matter how powerful he is only a supreme realm expert. He is still too young. Perfected Wugo said. Although he was only a 3rd firmament martial emperor, his status in the House of Storms was very high. Moreover, the other experts were extremely respectful to Perfected Wugo. Indeed. He's only 20 years old. After waiting for so many days, he naturally couldn't wait any longer. Moreover, we haven't appeared yet. Even if he suspects us, he doesn't want to wait any longer. Hui Jian was also a 6th heaven martial emperor and one of the 4 super powerhouses of the House of Storms. Following that, all the martial emperor powerhouses began to discuss the matter. This was a matter of success or failure. If they were not careful, they would be killed by Li Lingtian's gorilla demon and the House of Storms would not stand a chance. Moreover, they were all aware that the demonic beasts from outside would be suppressed if they entered the Lost Forest. The gorilla demons would be suppressed as well. They could take advantage of this opportunity to kill Li Ling Tian in the Lost Forest. Li Lingtian's wealth and treasures were the envy of the House of Storms. After a discussion via voice transmission, the powerhouses from the House of Storms waited for another 3 days. 3 days had passed but there was still no sign of Li Ling Tian. Upon noticing this, everyone assumed that Li Ling Tian had already entered the cave. They could not afford to delay any further lest Li Ling Tian took the lead. Whoosh! 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 A series of air-breaking sounds rang out. More than 10 martial emperors and martial honors from the House of Storms arrived at the Dragon Valley one after another. After waiting for a moment, they did not find anything suspicious. Their bodies flashed and they entered the Lost Forest. Another 10 experts entered, and they entered safely. 4 batches of experts had entered safely. The experts hiding behind them were relieved. Swoosh! This time, all the powerhouses came to the front of Dragon Valley one after another, but they did not enter. Old man Tian Yin and perfected cultivator Wu Go looked around and found many formations. However, these formations were useless. They could only hide and block the peeping of the divine senses and warriors. Chapter 401, Chapter 401, Exterminating Kanglan Building. Chapter 401, Exterminating Kanglan Building. At this moment, a destructive demonic power appeared between heaven and earth. Boom! Rumble! Rumble! Ah, ah! Rumble! It's a gorilla demon. Li Ling Tian, why are you here? It's Li Ling Tian. Rank 8 demonic beast gorilla demon. A destructive pressure descended, followed by a pitch-black demonic beast that was the size of a mountain. In an instant, it destroyed dozens of martial emperors and martial venerables. The gorilla demon's strange appearance caught the experts of the House of Storms off guard. They did not expect the gorilla demon to appear at this time. Furthermore, there were a few figures on its shoulders. Who else could it be but Li Ling Tian and the others? The appearance of Li Ling Tian and the gorilla monster made them understand what was going on. Li Ling Tian was too terrifying. He was actually so scheming and calculative. After the gorilla demon came out, it launched a destructive attack. Because it knew that this was the last time he would attack, and it was also time for him to sleep. If he could not eliminate these powerhouses, Li Lingtian would be in danger. After he fell into a deep sleep, he would be cut into pieces by these powerhouses. Why are you still here? Didn't you go in? Daoist priest Wugo and old man Tian Yin forcefully used their primeval essence to flicker, but they were unable to escape the range of the gorilla demon's pressure. As he forcefully dodged, he asked in shock. Look at this. Li Lingtian smiled and pointed at the stone wall with one hand. There were no ripples on the stone wall but mysterious and heaven-defying formations. The powerhouses from the House of Storms who had entered earlier were trapped inside. Moreover, the powerhouses from House of Storms were still struggling. The array had become transparent and everyone could see that it was just a formation cast by Li Lingtian. It turned out that Li Lingtian had done all of this on purpose. With his intelligence, this was a piece of cake. Moreover, he had long known that the experts of the House of Storms were here. His divine sense was incomparable to even a martial emperor expert. Naturally, he knew that the experts of the House of Storms would enter after him. However, the powerhouses from the House of Storms were unaware of Li Lingtian's scheming and patience. Li Lingtian hid in the array formation for a few days and let the rest of the powerhouses from the House of Storms in. He only made his move when the real powerhouses from the House of Storms arrived. Rumble. Rumble. Ah, ah, ah. Ah, ah. Waves of miserable cries rang out as the gorilla demon continuously waved the god-sealing chains in its hand. With every strike, a few experts were instantly killed. Under the pressure of its demonic power, even martial emperor experts would be suppressed. Martial honored experts would not even be able to move their fingers. Li Lingtian's face was expressionless. He could feel the gorilla demon's demonic power depleting rapidly. It was about time for him to launch an attack. Desolate 10 consecutive strikes. The gorilla demon could no longer hold on, but it finally persevered until the end. A trace of relief appeared in its eyes. With all the powerhouses dead, there was only one martial emperor left. Naturally, he did not have to worry. With Li Lingtian's means, he could easily kill a martial emperor. As the gorilla demon fell, Li Lingtian swung his ultimate overlord saber. The shocking saber intent brought with it a destructive saber radiance as it slashed toward the last first firmament martial emperor who was in a daze. In the air, more than 10 saber gleams slashed down and landed on the martial emperor powerhouse's body ruthlessly. Rumble. Crash. Ah! Although the gorilla demon had easily killed these martial emperors, it was not as easy for Li Lingtian to deal with them. After all, he was only at the second level of the martial honored realm. He could still deal with a martial honored realm expert, but he could not deal with a martial emperor realm expert. However, he had suddenly attacked and killed a martial emperor realm expert. The world fell silent. Li Lingtian's face revealed a sorrowful expression. With a flick of his divine consciousness, he recalled the gorilla demon and entered the divine dragon ring. He did not want the other experts to know about the fall of the gorilla demon. Otherwise, his opponents would come looking for him in droves. Looking at the quiet dragon valley, Little White transformed into its true form and quickly collected the storage bags and treasures of all the experts. Li Lingtian pondered for a moment before he took the storage pouch from Little White. Finally, he led Tang Qingyue and Little White into the Lost Forest with Long De following closely behind. After entering the Lost Forest, Li Lingtian's first priority was to find a safe place. Li Lingtian scanned his surroundings when he arrived at the top of a mountain. His divine consciousness was not suppressed at this place, but Long De was greatly suppressed. Even Little White was suppressed. Because they were all demons in human form, they would naturally be suppressed here. Long Da's cultivation was only suppressed to the 4th or 5th level of the Supreme Realm. However, with the strength of the demon race, he was not afraid of the 7th or 8th level of the Supreme Realm. The Lost Forest was a boundless forest, just like a sea of trees. Moreover, the spiritual energy inside was extremely dense, and there was also a dense fog. Li Lingtian was certain that this place was similar to Hidden Dragon Valley. After scanning the area with his spirit sense, there was not a single demon beast or human. He didn't know where those powerful warriors and demon beasts had gone. I didn't expect this place to not separate people. This is not bad. Tang Qingyue looked around and was excited about this place. With such spiritual energy, even if she couldn't obtain any treasures, she could still cultivate. She had never been worried when she was with Li Lingtian. In her eyes, there was nothing Li Lingtian could not solve when he was around, even though the gorilla demon had fallen. Now, we have to follow the guidance in this dragon's soul jade to the deepest part. Li Lingtian took out the dragon's soul jade and kept it away when he opened the lost forest. He really believed that the dragon's soul jade still had some use in the lost forest. Only the dragon's soul jade could activate some important mechanisms. He also understood that after this, the dragon's soul jade would completely disappear and would not be of any use in the future. With the guidance of the dragon's soul jade, we can search for herbs and treasures while walking inside. Isn't this better? After all, the lost forest won't be closed again. Big brother, don't walk so fast. Sister Qingyue, don't you think so? Little White tilted its head and looked at Li Lingtian with a pout. However, when it saw Li Lingtian walking forward, it shouted loudly. As it spoke, it did not forget to form an alliance with a friend. Yes, I am. Lingtian, you went to Hidden Dragon Island last time, but I haven't been there. Don't be in a hurry to go to the depths this time. We can still make it if we walk while looking for medicinal herbs. Tang Genji's lips moved slightly as a smile appeared on her face. She followed Little White's lead and joined forces. With the two of them working together, it was only natural that they could convince Li Lingtian. Sister Qingyue, are you also messing around with this girl? Sigh, I'm really impressed by the two of you. Is this the exclusive right of beautiful women? Li Lingtian took 2 steps back and came to Tang Genji's side. He spoke softly and sighed in the end. That's more like it. We are beauties and little girls. You have to protect us. Tang Qingyue could not hold back her laughter when she saw Li Lingtian's expression. The two girls chattered non-stop as they held Li Lingtian's hand and sandwiched him between them. Li Lingtian could only enjoy the pain. Both of them were peerless beauties, but they were chattering non-stop. He could only listen and had no right to resist. The three of them strolled in front of him while Longda scanned the surroundings with his divine sense. Naturally, he would not disturb Li Lingtian. The group did not encounter any danger, neither humans nor demonic beasts. A day had passed. Longda was here as a servant, constantly searching for a cave in front. Li Lingtian had spent a lot of time with the powerhouses from the House of Storms and was getting tired. He needed a good rest for a few days. When night fell, Li Lingtian and the rest finally found a cave. The cave was not big, only about 20 square meters in size. However, it was dry and airy, making it suitable for living. Li Lingtian cast a concealment formation to cover the cave's exterior. Longda found a relatively secluded place to rest within the formation. This way, if anyone were to see through the formation, it would be able to deliver a fatal blow to the other party at once. At the entrance, Li Lingtian set up a few simple formations and the three of them entered the cave. No matter where a girl went, be it an inn or the wilderness, she would care about where she lived. In a short while, the cave was cleaned up. Countless colorful cloth strips made the cave look like a girl's boudoir. You guys sleep first. I'll cultivate first. Li Lingtian sat on the blanket that Tang Qingyue had laid out and looked at Tang Qingyue and Little White. To save space, Tang Qingyue and Little White had placed their blankets together. Upon seeing this, Li Lingtian was infuriated. Although Little White was a dragon, it was a dragon lady after its transformation. A noble dragon lady like Ge with unparalleled beauty. Even though Xiao Bai was usually a little mischievous and the two of them were very close, they did not sleep together. There was no need to mention Tang Qingyue. Back in the ancient battlefield ruins, she and Huangfu Yuyan were together. Although the three of them were close, there was still a little distance between them. The three of them weren't squeezed together like this. Wasn't this making his blood boil? Moreover, Tang Qingyue was a peerless beauty as cold as an iceberg. Although she was gentle in front of Li Lingtian, she was definitely a beauty as cold as an iceberg in front of outsiders. Now that they were living together, it felt a little ambiguous, mainly because she was Mingming's sister. Yes, I'm a little tired. You can cultivate. But don't be too late. On the other hand, Tang Qingyue was unusually obedient like a well-behaved baby. This was the first time Li Lingtian had seen such a situation. If the powerhouses were to witness this icy beauty being so gentle to Li Lingtian, their jaws would drop. Her tone was like a wife who cared about her husband. Li Lingtian's heart warmed at once. You have to join the group to get a red packet. Chapter 402, Chapter 402, Late Night. Chapter 402, Late Night. Li Lingtian did not say a word as he closed his eyes and began cultivating. He was definitely the first person in the Lost Forest who dared to take a nap like them. Even those martial emperor powerhouses did not have the guts to do so. After all, the Lost Forest was filled with danger. If they were not careful, they would die. Moreover, martial artists would not sleep in an unfamiliar environment, especially at night. As nighttime was the world of the demonic beasts, only Li Lingtian had the courage and strength to do so in such a place. The rich spiritual energy made one excited when cultivating. After 2 cycles, he felt that the true essence in his body had increased quite a bit. For a martial-honored realm powerhouse like Li Lingtian, the increase in his cultivation base was negligible. However, it was still an increase in his cultivation base. No matter how powerful a warrior was, his cultivation base was cultivated bit by bit. After 2 cycles of cultivation, Li Lingtian looked at the 2 beauties sleeping on the blanket. Although it was a little cold in the cave, the 2 ladies had removed their muslin and did not cover themselves with the blanket. Li Lingtian could not see anything, but this only made him more enticed. Li Lingtian's chest heaved up and down with his even breathing, which made him feel a little angry. Moreover, the situation before him made his blood boil. Tang Qingyue and Little White's bed was not big, but the 2 girls were sleeping on both sides. The space left in the middle was obviously for Li Lingtian. Such a small matter was enough to make him excited. However, he did not think too much about it. He took off his outer clothes lightly and lay down in the middle. Feeling the refreshing body fragrance of the 2 peerless beauties beside him, his body could not help but react, but he could only endure it now. Not long after he fell asleep, Tang Qingyue turned around and grabbed Li Lingtian's arm before placing it under her head. She used Li Lingtian's arm as a pillow. Li Lingtian did not mind as it did not matter. However, Little White on the left did the same thing. It pulled Li Lingtian's left hand over and used it as a pillow. Even if Li Lingtian was a fool, he would have understood the trick the 2 of them were playing. However, he didn't react or say anything. If he had to say such a small thing, he really wasn't a man. Gradually, Li Lingtian fell asleep as he smelled the fragrance of the 2 peerless beauties. The next morning, Li Lingtian woke up to find 2 beauties in his arms. Even though a warrior who cultivated was not afraid of the cold, the night in the mountains was still a little cold. Girls instinctively sought a warm place to lean on. Li Lingtian's arm was bent over as well. The 2 girls were already in his arms and one of their legs was still on his body. This erotic scene almost made him vomit blood. However, he didn't want the 2 girls to wake up and feel shy, so he could only pretend to be asleep. However, it was useless for him to pretend to be asleep. The 2 of them had woken up and naturally saw the sleeping positions of the 3 of them. Immediately, the 2 of them blushed. Even though she wanted to get close to Li Lingtian, she was still extremely shy since it was her first time being so close. She wished she could find a hole to hide in. Yes. Tang Qingyue gave a soft and buried her head in Li Lingtian's arms. She dared not look at him. On the other hand, Little White was shy for a moment before she quickly calmed down. The two of them had been in a relationship for a long time, so they naturally did not care about these things. After all, the two of them had gotten closer recently. Although Tang Qingyue was close to Li Lingtian, she was Li Lingtian's sister-in-law. Hence, she kept a certain distance from him. "Brother, I still need to sleep," Little White called out softly. It leaned against Li Lingtian and continued to sleep. Seeing this, Li Lingtian had no choice but to take a nap. Since he did not have much time to cultivate in this place, it was a rare opportunity for him to have a good rest. Next, the three of them huddled together. It was still not dawn outside, and the weather was the coolest. Li Lingtian could feel the two girls trembling slightly. With a flick of his divine consciousness, he retrieved a blanket from the divine dragon ring and covered the three of them. It was still okay to sleep together since they didn't have a blanket, but now that the three of them had covered themselves with a blanket, they were truly sharing a bed. This was a subtle reaction of the human mind. Tang Qingyue blushed, and her mind was in a mess. Li Lingtian was embarrassed when he saw this. However, he could not possibly lift the blanket now. Otherwise, it would not be funny. Tang Qingyue's heart thumped. Her body stiffened and she did not dare to move. The three of them didn't know how long had passed, but they slept again before waking up. After getting up, the three of them began to meditate and cultivate seriously. Cultivation was a must for a martial artist. Even if they didn't eat, they couldn't forget to cultivate. "Ling Tian, are we leaving today?" Tang Qingyue looked at Li Lingtian after she was done with her cultivation. She had to pack her things before she left so that she would not forget to pack. "Yes, we have nothing to do here. Let's fly slowly inside first. Maybe we can find some medicinal herbs. Right now, we still don't have a clear direction. We must find the direction, or else we will never be able to find the deepest part." 11. Li Lingtian stopped practicing and stood up to speak. As he spoke, Tang Qingyue took his clothes and helped Li Lingtian put them on. She served Li Lingtian like a wife. Li Lingtian was happy to enjoy it. It was natural for him to be blessed to be treated like this by a peerless beauty. After she was dressed, Tang Qingyue tidied up her clothes. A thin layer of clothing covered her delicate body, revealing some of her breasts, giving people endless fantasies. This was the style of the women's clothing in the divine martial continent. However, there were also some who were wearing more revealing battle armor and warrior clothes. However, these beauties still paid attention to themselves. At most, they wore low-collared clothes that gave people endless temptation. With her beautiful face and perfect figure, she was definitely a killer weapon for men. Li Lingtian left the cave and watched Longda meditate without saying a word. However, Longda was indeed startled awake and had noticed Li Lingtian the moment he came out. If the enemies outside had come, he would have attacked them long ago. "Young master." Longda stood up and bowed respectfully. It had long since stopped treating itself as a Tier 7 transformed mystical beast. Instead, it was willing to be Li Lingtian's subordinate. Even though Li Lingtian was only a martial honor, he was still shocked by Li Lingtian's abilities. If they were to fight, he might not be Li Lingtian's match. Furthermore, Li Lingtian had countless trump cards and divine weapons. Naturally, he was no match for him. Besides, he had to rely on Li Lingtian's elixirs, true dragon's qi, and true dragon's blood to become a true dragon. He had been envious of Li Lingtian's luck and methods for some time now. However, he understood that it was also due to Li Lingtian's capabilities. Soon, Tang Qingyue and Little White came out. They found a stream not far from the cave and left after washing up. He had been walking in the same direction. With Long Da's senses, he could sense the direction of the demon beasts. The direction he chose was usually not wrong. This was because the perception of demonic beasts was very strong. The stronger the demonic beast, the closer it was to the depths. Demonic beasts. Powerful demonic beasts would not be at the edge or the periphery. Along the way, Li Lingtian did not make a move. Whenever he encountered a Tier 4, Tier 5, or even Tier 6 demonic beast, Longda would kill it in one fell swoop. They had encountered a Tier 7 demonic beast before. Li Lingtian and Longda's joint efforts easily killed it. Every time he encountered a powerful demonic beast, he would encounter very good medicinal herbs or spiritual fruits. A month passed by quickly. In this 1 month, Li Lingtian had no idea how many monster beast inner cores he had. There were a bunch of level 5 and 6 monster cores and even more than a dozen level 7 monster cores. The inner core of a 7th tier demonic beast was an existence that could directly kill a martial monarch realm expert. Although the inner cores of the 7th rank beasts were all at the 1st or 2nd level of the 7th rank, if they were to use this inner core and the war god, they would definitely be able to kill any martial supreme below the 3rd level in one strike. However, those super freaks were exceptions. With these demonic beast inner cores, his strength had also increased by a large margin. Along the way, he met many warriors who were powerhouses he had collected spiritual stones from before. Upon seeing Li Lingtian, these powerhouses greeted him with a smile before distancing themselves from him. Li Lingtian did not mind. If he were to encounter a powerful martial supreme, he would have avoided it as far as he could. If he encountered a level 3 martial monarch realm expert now, he could rely on all kinds of treasures and skills to fight. However, if he encountered a level 4 martial monarch realm expert, he could only run. Others might not know, but he knew that without the gorilla demon, he could only rely on himself. Rumble. Rumble. At this moment, a shocking explosion sounded from afar. It was obvious that there was a great battle between experts. Li Lingtian scanned the area with his divine perception and a faint smile appeared on his face. The smile then grew wider. Lingtian, what's so good that you're so happy? Tang Qingyue held Li Lingtian's arm and gently rubbed it against his arm through the veil. Although it was unintentional, Li Lingtian enjoyed it. Girls would only be so close to the man they liked. Only when they reached a certain level would they not mind their forbidden land being touched. 2 martial monarch realm experts are fighting, and one of them is from the House of Storms. Do you think I'm not happy? Li Lingtian said with a smile. Tang Qingyue, Xiaobai and Longde did not show any change in expression upon hearing Li Lingtian's words. It was no surprise that Li Lingtian was excited about the Martial Supreme's battle. If anyone else saw Li Lingtian's expression, they would have fainted. A revered martial artist was so happy to witness the Martial Supreme's battle. Indeed. If we encounter experts from the House of Storms, we can eliminate them one by one. By then, the pressure on the Queen's palace will be reduced. Tang Qingyue nodded. It was normal for such things to happen to Li Lingtian. It would be strange if Li Lingtian was frightened. Then, the group walked forward at a moderate pace. The battle between the martial sovereigns would not end anytime soon anyway. Chapter 403, Dragon Saliva Fruit, 1. Chapter 403, Dragon Saliva Fruit, 1. In the deep forest far away, countless trees had turned into ashes. Ice attacks froze the world together, followed by fire attacks that turned everything into nothingness. When ice and fire met, even if there was no hatred between them, the ice and fire were definitely incompatible. Yu Pingji, hand over the ancient language grass in your hand and I can spare your life. Lu Wenqing's fire-type heaven weapon kept breaking the opponent's attacks. The second Heaven Martial Emperor was suppressing the first Heaven Martial Emperor's attacks. Their attributes were against each other. Moreover, they had encountered a good medicinal herb now. Naturally, they would not give up. Lu Wenqing, do you think you can defeat me just because you're at the second heaven of the Martial Emperor realm? Yu Pingji was also complaining in his heart. He had not seen his old rival for many years. He did not expect that his old rival had reached the second level of the Martial Emperor realm while he was still at the first level of the Martial Emperor realm. This first level of the Martial Emperor realm could be considered to have come to an end. He naturally couldn't take out the ancient language grass that he had just obtained. Then let's give it a try. Blazing Sun Myriad Daos. Lu Wenqing waved the heaven artifact in his hand, and the temperature of the world suddenly rose. The surrounding trees and even the boulders quickly melted. One could imagine how terrifying the temperature was. Immediately after, countless terrifying flames flew towards Yupingji at an extremely fast speed. In the blink of an eye, they arrived in front of Yupingji. Frozen heaven and earth. Ice curtain. Yupingji was shocked. He did not expect Lu Wenqing, who was at the second level of the martial emperor realm, to have such a cultivation base. He also had a heaven weapon, but it was still far inferior to Lu Wenqing, who was at the second level of the martial emperor realm. Rumble. Kacha. With a loud explosion, the two attacks collided. Yupingji's figure was thrown into the air and finally fell to the ground with a pale face. If it was a battle between experts of the same level, they would not be defeated so easily. However, although the two of them were of the same realm, their levels were different. No matter how powerful a level 1 expert was, they would still fail when facing a level 2 expert. There was only one Li Lingtian in this world and there were not many perverted powerhouses. Just as Yupingji fell to the ground, Lu Wenqing, who was at the second heaven of the martial emperor realm, spat out a mouthful of blood. Yupingji was shocked by this situation. He was the one who was injured, but he didn't expect Lu Wenqing to be injured as well. He was sure that he wasn't the one who injured Lu Wenqing. Lu Wenqing turned around and looked at the sky in horror. There was no one in the sky. Who is it? Come out. What kind of hero is a sneak attack? Come out if you have the guts. Lu Wenqing clutched his chest. The attack from behind him had been soundless. When he was injured, he did not know what was going on. Now, streams of icy qi were surging in his body, constantly consuming his fire martial spirit and Jin Yuan. Encountering such a thing, he definitely knew how terrifying the person was. Moreover, the person's talent was also his nemesis, the ice element. Otherwise, he would not have such terrifying ice true energy. You were the one who asked me to come out. At this moment, a calm voice sounded. As the voice fell, a destructive attack ruthlessly bombarded down. Ice, fire, 9 heavens, extinction. The destructive aura carried the shadow of death. The moment death and destruction appeared, an extermination aura appeared. This aura made even martial emperor powerhouses feel a trace of despair. Rumble. The destructive light beam struck Lu Wenqing's body so fast that he could not react at all. Lu Wenqing's body was blasted to the ground with a loud explosion. If it were not for the physique of a martial emperor, he would have vanished into thin air. Generally speaking, it would take time to use a skill above the earth rank, even if it was a powerful expert, unless the skill was cultivated to the extreme and the state of perfection. Although Li Lingtian's heavenly divine powers had not reached the perfection state or the ultimate state, they were not far from the ultimate state. The heaven-tier divine power that he used was instantly cast and was at his fingertips. This was absolutely heaven-defying. Just this move alone was enough to gain a huge advantage. Experts of the same rank competed in speed, weapons, talent, martial souls, and the right time, place, and people. Warriors with the same cultivation base had a lot of advantages in terms of speed. It was the same for high-grade weapons. There was no need to talk about talent. If a fire martial soul encountered a water martial soul, then the fire martial soul would basically be restrained. There were also various other factors, such as the right time, the right place, and the right people. These were all things that a martial artist needed to pay attention to. Often, a very powerful expert would be defeated by a martial artist who was slightly weaker than him. To have a shocking cultivation, one had to have a shocking amount of experience. Li Lingtian had not even revealed his face in the previous attack when he unleashed the third heaven of ice, fire, 9 heavens. His opponent did not even have the chance to react. Martial artists were not gods. Even if they were gods, they would be killed if they were not prepared. For example, no matter how strong you were, you would still be killed if you didn't have any defense. If the other party slashed you with a machete and you didn't block it, you would definitely be killed. If you blocked it, it would be defense. Lu Wenqing fell to the ground and spat out another mouthful of blood. This attack took half of Lu Wenqing's life. Fortunately, the martial monarch realm expert was born with a strong physique. He used his defense at the last minute and saved his life. You're Li Lingtian. Lu Wenqing looked at the young man in white who walked out unhurriedly, and his eyes were filled with fear. All the powerhouses in the House of Storms knew Li Lingtian. They did not expect him to be alive here and they were instantly in despair. Young noble Ling Tian, I've heard a lot about you. Yu Pingji was shocked as well. Although he had never met Li Lingtian before, he was extremely famous. He had even messed with several of the Azure continent's superpowers. Dishi family was wiped out, and so was House of Storms. The young man's reputation had spread throughout the entire Tsang continent. There was no force or warrior in the Tsang continent who did not fear Li Lingtian. He did not expect to see Li Lingtian at this time. He was lucky that Li Lingtian had hidden himself the last time he came in. Otherwise, he would not have been able to get away with 1 billion spiritual stones. Now that Li Lingtian had beaten a second-level martial emperor half to death with a single blow, he was even more shocked and quickly cupped his fists in greeting. There's nothing for you to do here. Li Lingtian waved his hand. He could not be bothered to befriend these people. If one was not strong enough, they would not care even if one was a martial supreme. If one was strong enough, they would respect and fear one. This was the rule of this world. Then I shall take my leave. Yu Pingji wasn't unhappy at all. He felt more like he was lucky. His body flashed and he quickly flew into the distance. Usually, if he met a Supreme Realm expert, he would be respectful when he saw him. Unlike this young man in front of him, the other party ignored him when he greeted him and waved him away. But now that he was asked to leave, he felt as if he had been pardoned and escaped. Didn't you call me out? With a smile on his face, Li Lingtian walked toward Lu Wenqing step by step. His eyes were cold and emotionless. Humph, don't be so smug. When the time comes, my House of Storms will chase you to the ends of the earth. Lu Wenqing still didn't know that dozens of super experts of the House of Storms had been killed. He thought that the experts like Old Man Tian Yin were still alive. If he knew that Old Man Tian Yin and the others had been killed, he didn't know what kind of cousins he would have. Chapter 404, Chapter 404, Entering the Passage, 1. Chapter 404, Entering the Passage, 1. It really is the dragon saliva fruit. Longda was also excited. Only these 10,000-year-old heavenly treasures could make a transformed demon beast like Longda excited. Moreover, he had seen countless demonic beasts like heavenly materials, earth treasures, and Dragon King, but they revealed an excited expression when facing this dragon saliva fruit. The dragon saliva fruit was also a top-notch existence among heavenly and earthly treasures. This was because the place where it grew had to be a place where dragons had lived. It had to be nourished by dragon energy for a long time to form the dragon grass. After countless years, the dragon grass would grow into the dragon saliva fruit. The dragonfly grass was originally a precious medicinal herb that was difficult to find in the world. Moreover, to obtain a fruit from the dragonfly grass, that was even more rare. Don't reveal such an appearance. When the time comes, the medicinal pill that I refine with this dragon saliva fruit will be able to display 10 times the effect of the fruit. Li Lingtian glanced at Longda and spoke indifferently. His face was also filled with excitement. If there was a dragon saliva fruit, there would be a dragon grass. Otherwise, this fruit would not have grown in the air. Hee hee. Longda chuckled. He truly believed that Li Lingtian's alchemy and array Dao were peerless talents that few could compare to. For a treasure like the dragon saliva fruit, no matter what grade the medicinal pill was, adding a little bit of it could increase the quality of the medicinal pill by a large margin. It could even cause the medicinal pill to mutate and become a magical medicinal pill. This dragon saliva fruit and dragon drool grass are not bad. Move aside a little. Don't let the aura touch them. Li Lingtian told Tang Qingyue and Longda that Little White was of the dragon clan, so there was no problem. After saying that, he walked up carefully. His whole body was emitting a dense wood-type spiritual qi. This way, he could casually display the martial soul of the five elements completion. Whenever he encountered a wood-type martial soul, it would be a wood-type martial soul. Although this fruit was born from dragon energy, it also grew by absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. The natural treasures here were all nourished by wood-type spirit stones. Unless it was the heavenly materials and earthly treasures in the sea area. Even the heavenly materials and earthly treasures in the sea area had wood spiritual qi and water spiritual qi. When he arrived at the location of the ambergris fruit, Li Lingtian took a closer look. There were only 33 ambergris fruits in this place, but they were definitely over 10,000 years old. Moreover, there were quite a number of dragon saliva fruit seeds on the ground. It seemed that these dragon saliva fruits had not been picked and had fallen to the ground. Other than some seeds of the ambergris fruit, there were also some small ambergris grass. It seemed that they were grown from the seeds of the ambergris fruit. The dragon drool grass that nurtured the dragon saliva fruit were all very large. Such a dragon drool grass was definitely in existence that was more than 100,000 years old. It couldn't be better for medicinal pills that were grade 7 and above. After pondering for a moment, Li Ling activated her divine sense and cast out many wood elemental formations. After doing everything, she grabbed with one hand and uprooted everything within a 10-meter radius. Not only were they uprooted, but even the soil was stirred up. He used his divine sense to open the divine dragon ring and quickly put the dragon grass and dragon saliva fruits into the divine dragon ring. Soon, everything was put into his herb garden. The herb garden in the divine dragon ring was 30 miles in size. It was filled with 10,000-year-old herbs and some rare herbs. There were also limitless Tao fruits and 5-element spirit fruits. Tang Qingyue burst into laughter when she saw Li Lingtian uprooting the entire place. The way Li Lingtian was digging up the ground was like killing 3 birds with 1 stone. Li Lingtian waved at Tang Qingyue and the others after he was done packing. He then looked at the huge stone wall behind the ambergris fruit. The stone wall seemed to have cut off heaven and earth. Even with Li Lingtian's divine consciousness, he could only see a cliff 10 miles high. He could not see anything higher. Could this be the place where the dragon's soul is? Tang Qingyue looked at the cliff and thought of the fruit that had just appeared. If there were no dragons here, there would definitely be no fruit. This should be the place. Li Lingtian nodded, but he did not know how to use the dragon's soul jade. He took out the dragon's soul jade and examined it carefully. What puzzled Li Lingtian was that the dragon's soul jade was not pointing to this place but somewhere else. During this period of time, even though they did not know the direction, the dragon's soul jade had some guiding functions. As they approached the direction of the dragon's soul, the dragon energy on the dragon's soul jade would be more concentrated. This way, Li Lingtian and the rest did not lose their way. Could this be a passageway? Li Lingtian's brows furrowed as he spoke softly. Since the ambergris fruit had appeared in this place, it should be where the dragon's soul resided. Moreover, this precipice was not simple either. It could only be connected to mysterious existences like the dragon's soul. Following that, Li Lingtian carefully scanned the stone wall with his divine perception. He searched every inch of the wall but he could not find any clues. At that moment, it was noon and the sun was shining down. The dragon's soul jade in Li Lingtian's hand emitted a blood-red glow. The glow merged with the sunlight in the sky and formed a strange aura. Whoosh! 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 A gust of wind arose from the flat ground as whirlwinds appeared. The whirlwinds revolved around Li Lingtian. No, they should be revolving around the dragon's soul jade. Li Lingtian could not help but be stunned when he saw this. He was an array master, a powerful holy array master, but he could not see through the mechanisms here. This array was completely created by borrowing the power of heaven and earth. The dragon's soul jade was a catalyst. It would only appear under the sunlight at noon, which was also the time when the dragon's soul jade would unleash its power. Rumble. Rumble. Kacha, kacha. At that moment, a black hole appeared not far from where Li Lingtian was standing. The black hole had a strong suction force. He quickly pulled Li Lingtian in. When Li Lingtian entered the black hole, he grabbed Tang Qingyue and Little White with one hand while Longde flew over automatically and plunged into the black hole without hesitation. Soon, the ground returned to its usual calm. There was nothing unusual about it. It was impossible to tell that such a strange change had occurred in this place. Bang! After some time, Li Lingtian fell to the ground. His two hands were still holding Xiao Bai and Tang Qingyue in his arms. No matter what, he would not let the two girls separate. It was dangerous everywhere in this place and he would not be at ease if they got separated. Longde also landed on the ground and instinctively sized him up. It was extremely dark inside. If not for their high cultivation, they would not have been able to see anything inside. However, they quickly sized up the place. It was a simple passageway, but it was not small. It was larger than any passageway they had seen before. What powerful dragon energy! It should be the aura of Yinglong. Little White had absolute authority over dragon energy. Although she did not have much knowledge and did not have much contact with it, she was a miracle of the dragon race after all. She could cultivate the bloodline of the nine-colored divine dragon. She must know a lot about dragon energy and was much more knowledgeable than Li Lingtian. Little White was an innate dragon while Li Lingtian was only a postnatal true dragon body barrier. He could not even be considered a dragon. It's still far. Let's go. I hope that you will also obtain an opportunity this time. Li Lingtian nodded before he spoke to Xiao Bai and Tang Qingyue. At the end of his speech, he looked at Longde who was not far away. Xiao Bai and Tang Qingyue naturally held Li Lingtian's arm. With Li Lingtian by their side, they were not afraid even in the zone. Longde's heart skipped a beat as he revealed an excited expression. Naturally, he understood what Li Lingtian meant. Perhaps he would become a member of the true dragon clan this time and his cultivation base would advance tremendously. Seeing that Li Lingtian and the other two were walking ahead, he quickly suppressed his excitement and flew forward. Li Lingtian led the two beauties through the dark passageway. He had already confirmed that there were no humans or living creatures in this place. Since it was a place like this, he felt much more at ease. However, no matter what the situation was, he would maintain the highest level of vigilance. Let's speed up. Li Lingtian and the others walked for a full hour but they were still stuck in the passageway. There was a hint of impatience on their faces. Moreover, the dragon's soul jade pointed in the same direction as this passage, but the distance was very far. With that said, he cast the true dragon body barrier to protect Tang Qingyue and Little White by his side. The light shield surrounded the three of them as they glided swiftly. Without any hesitation, Longde took the lead and led the way in front of Li Lingtian. This was what a loyal subordinate had to do. He had to block any danger for his master. After flying for 3 hours, they finally arrived at the end of the passage. At the end of the passage was a huge palace. There was only one seat in the palace, which was like the throne of an emperor. Boom! At that moment, Li Lingtian felt a destructive pressure appear out of nowhere. The presence of this pressure sent him flying without any resistance. Longde was the first to bear the brunt of the impact, followed by Li Lingtian and the other two. They were sent flying before they finally stopped after hitting the stone wall. Li Lingtian and Longde both spat out a mouthful of blood. Longde had withstood the most powerful pressure and suffered the most damage. Li Lingtian was the one who passed. He had cultivated the true dragon body barrier and was protected by the limitless feather coat. Naturally, he was not worried about dying in the face of the pressure. However, Tang Qingyue and Little White would definitely be injured. He had blocked all the pressure alone so that Tang Qingyue and Little White would not be injured. Little White, protect Sister Blue Moon. Longda, this is where the dragon's soul exists. The two of us will go in. Li Lingtian shouted when he felt the waves of pressure crashing toward him. The situation did not give him the time to think. Little White was a dragon and had an extremely strong defense. Naturally, it would not be affected by the dragon energy. The silver-winged flying dragon shouted as well. With Little White and the silver-winged flying dragon, Tang Qingyue could be saved. With a flash of his body, he forcefully flew towards the source of the pressure. Although Longda was injured, his face was filled with excitement because if he obtained the dragon energy, he could increase his cultivation. As for the dragon's soul, he did not dare to have such thoughts. Fighting for the dragon's soul in front of Li Lingtian was akin to courting death. You're tuning into the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.